Alrighty. I am proper excited by this one. And he keeps saying to me, what is up with you? Why are you so excited? Why couldn't you sleep last night? Right? Like, seriously, go on.
Mate, I swear to God, I'm like, what is wrong with you, bro?
I know. 1 second. Let me just turn this down here because we can hear ourselves here. 1 second.
Go on.
That's better.
That's better.
That is much better. There was me, all professional, right? So there's two people who phoned me early in the morning, and
I've got to be one of them.
Yeah. Whenever anyone needs me, right? So Vibes is like an 7:30 man, but you're like an 5:30, 6 man.
I'm a 5:30, 6 a.m.
You're like an 5:30, 6
I'm like
man.
clockwork.
100%, right? So I genuinely have been that excited about what we're doing today, and you and Sonia have just even though you just blamed me on the internet for
it was your fault though. It's all your fault.
My fault, right? And him and Sonia are just casually out in the garden, and they're taking the mick out of me for being excited. Oh, you know what we can't do? Swear, because we're live. Because we have we like calling each other bad words in an endearing way.
You're the geezer that does all that. It's not me.
See how I'm getting the blame already here?
You're the man for that. I'm very, very wholesome.
You are mate, you are so wholesome right now. You are so
very
wholesome
guy.
So I thought so much about how I'm going to introduce you, because there is so many Jumpin Jack Frosts who I've experienced over the past 30 years. 35 years.
They say that I've got multiple personality disorder.
Right, okay.
I've been diagnosed with it.
Right, so that makes sense.
Sense.
Obviously, like, you bared all for us in the book.
Yeah.
So I've been fascinated by you since first seeing your name on flyers, late 88, early 89, always one of the coolest names ever. First time I got to DJ with you on a bill and hear you in the same night was at the Four Aces 1990. So I've been a huge fan, a humongous fan, but then also we managed to extract stuff out of you.
You extracted it. The thing about it, when we first started this process, I was like, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to talk about boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Andrew, God bless him, is an expert at extracting information out of people.
Yep.
And as you know, once you start this process, you get so into it.
You really do.
You get into it, and it's really therapeutic as well. It's like closing a door on a chapter, you know?
Yeah.
Which is, it can only be a good thing.
It can only be a good thing. So I know many yous. Like I know.
You know more good me's than the bad me's.
Oh, listen, for me, the whole thing's good. Like for me, it's like what I want to do with this podcast is it's like Vibes last week. Can I look you in the eye and tell you I love you? Right? And I can
hope so.
Yeah, and I can look you in the eye and say I love you, right? And I know no matter how many personalities you have,
I love you too.
Yeah, thank you, mate. And no matter how many, like, the thing with you is you walk in so many circles of life, right? Your energy, like your energy takes you with, like, you walk amongst the legends of jungle drum and bass, the legends of house and old school, but then you walk with actors and politicians and advocates for mental health.
I've got all different kind of friends. I was on the phone yesterday morning for about an hour with IC, and Ice was on the set of Law and Order, and we were talking, and I spoke with his wife Coco for 20 minutes as well while he was out of the trailer. There
you go. One of the proudest moments of me as someone who likes working behind the scenes as much as working in front of the scenes as a DJ. One of my proudest moments was when Hank Shockley wrote the foreword in your book. Do you remember?
I was like, I'm getting the foreword done by Hank Shockley, and you was like, what?
My hair,
I was like, well, you know, Hank's going to write the foreword, and you were like, Hank Shockley. I was like,
yeah. And you and I speak for me and Sonia on this. We're just a circle of life that you walk in. We are always rooting for you. everyone else who's your friend, we are always, always, always rooting for you. Like whether it's a new brand you're launching, whether it's you're out gigging, whether you're touring the world, whether you're talking, openly about mental health and depression, and also when we over the years when we know you may have been going down the wrong path, like whatever world
you lot have always supported me and always had me back,
yeah,
and always had my best interest at heart.
yeah,
Always.
but I think every circle of life you walk in like that, everyone is rooting for you, and we like in our circle we're always rooting for you because I'm going to say it again, we love you, like we love you, right? Right, let's go right back.
Come on, son.
Right, let's go right back. Music. What are your first memories of music? Were you born 67 or 68?
1967.
Right. What are your first memories of music?
Man, my first memories of music are definitely, it's going to be through my mum and my dad, right? So I remember listening to Desmond Dekker, James Brown. My mum and dad were massive James Brown fans. My dad was a massive, massive jazz fan. So I grew up on Miles Davis, Wayne Shorter, Thelonious Monk. Yeah. These are the kind of music I heard in my house when I first opened my eyes. I listened to Monk and particularly Miles Davis. And as my life's gone on, I resonate with Miles more and more because I think we have kind of parallel kind of stories. Right. Do you know what I mean? And so ever since I first opened my eyes, music has been a massive part of everything to me. Do you know what I mean?
Because the thing, as soon as people interview you, they want to know.
People just want to know the bad stuff.
They want to know the bad stuff, right?
Yeah.
But like,
there's a lot of good.
Mate, it's all good because even the bad stuff has led you to being better and good, right? Yeah. But like the thing that fascinates me more than anything is the music. He's like how you, everything you do is in the extreme. So your consumption of music, just the names you rolled off there, is like bam, 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 and so when you was growing up and when you was young and you're consuming all this music, but then you're finding you're on these roads as well of being a troubled lad and that. Did music help you or did it influence your behaviour or vice versa? Like I
don't know, because music has always been there. Yeah. So I don't know whether it helped or hindered because it has just been a constant. Do you know what I mean? And in the end, it's helped because it's the way I got away from the crime and the other stuff that I was up to when I was younger. Music was my way out of that. So I have to say it helped. Do you know what I mean? It's never hindered, ever. Do you know what I mean? Never.
Can you remember the first record you ever held in your hand?
I can't remember the first record I ever held in my hand. It's got to be, I know it was a Trojan record, and it's either a record on Trojan or King.
Right.
One of those two labels. And I don't know what the name of it, but I know it was one of those because I remember the two labels look similar.
Yeah.
The Trojan 7 inches and the King 7 inches look slightly similar. So it was one of those two.
Did you ever had an inkling at that age, say in the mid-70s, or that you wanted to be involved with music at any point?
Not consciously, because I was just like, I used to play music at the family parties. They used to say, Nigel, go on the decks and put the not the decks, go and put the records
on the record player.
On the record player.
Yeah.
And then I used to go and play the records on the record player, and then I clocked on. Right, because we used to have like little parties, like family parties, and then there's a time when all my aunts and my mum and everyone, they'd be in the kitchen making patties, and I would me and my cousin would make a plan. I said, I'll tell you what we do. I'll put this record on. They're all going to come out and start dancing, and then we nick the patties, yeah? And so, you know, it's like, you know the power of the draw. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'd put the record on. My aunts and everyone and my mum would go, and run into the front room and start dancing. Then we'd raid the kitchen.
And how old was you then?
6.
6 years old.
6, 7.
Because when I was like that age, I was just like, I was telling my daughter the other day, like there'd be a record player indoors and there'd be a tape player, and in my head I would just pretend to be like a radio presenter. And like soon as there was like you, soon as there was parties and stuff, I just gravitated towards the records.
And it's because they just, you know, I was an allocated DJ, and I was 7 years old. Do you know what I mean? And and it was I just loved it because, you know, it's from an early age you see people's reaction when you put on a record, and you think, all right, if I put that on, everyone's gonna be happy. If I put that on, they might not be so happy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you kind of work out, all right, how to work a room from 7, 8 years old. You know, you learn how to work a room. It might be a really little room, but it's a start of working a room.
Yeah. And what about the first record you ever brought? Can you remember the first record
I was, you know, the thing about it, I was talking to David Rodigan about this, because the first record I ever bought was a record by a guy called Lone Ranger. And it was called Barnabas Collins. And I was talking to David Rodigan about it because I heard it on his show when he used to be on Capital. And I was
that late 70s or early 80s, would you say? Because he started on Capital
It's got to be 1979 or something like that.
Yeah, that's that.
I reckon
in my head, that's what it is, yeah.
I think it's got to be 1979, something like that. And I bought it from Dub Vendor, and I was talking to John from Dub Vendor about it. The other day, I was at my cousin Smiley Culture's. Smiley Culture's my cousin, by the way.
Right, okay.
So Smiley Culture died. He was killed by the police in his house. And recently they put a plaque up outside the block where he lived.
Yeah.
And John from Dub Vendor was there. And I was talking to John saying, you do know that you sold me my first ever record. And he was like,
wow.
No way. So, yeah, the Lone Ranger, Barnabas Collins, 1979.
So you'd have been 13, 14 years of age?
No. I would have been 12. 11.
12 years of age.
12, 11, maybe 11. Because I went to boarding school when I was just nearly 13. And that was... Oh, wow. No, yeah. I'm trying to think now. I must have been about 11 when I bought that record.
So
I must have been about 11 when I bought that.
So 11 years of age.
Yeah.
You buy your first record.
Yeah.
But of course, it's well documented that even at that age you was naughty outside and just being
even at 11 years old, I was out thieving, throwing bottles at people. We had a little gang of us playing knockdown ginger, beating people up.
Yeah.
A couple of that. What I used to do as well, I used to go to a school called Tulse Hill School, and I used to wait at the back gate for people.
Yeah.
And just take everyone's dinner money. Like about 100 people, everyone had to give me their dinner money. And that was when I was about 11. Yeah.
Right. So you have this passion for music early.
Yeah.
Even when you work in a room, you're doing it to nick stuff and nick
I'm
food.
still nicking bits and bobs.
But you hear Rodigan on the radio.
Yeah.
And that drives you to buy
Barnabas Collins. Yeah.
To buy that record. And this before you went to boarding school.
Yeah. That's before I went to boarding school. That's way before. By the time I went to boarding school, I was in the full flow of buying records.
What year did you go? How old was you when you went boarding school?
13.
13. So in the space of a few years.
Yeah, I started. I had bought a lot of 7 inches and just, you know what I mean, and 7 inches and some 12 inches, and funny enough, I kind of developed a loving for disco.
Right.
Well, you know what I mean. This is crazy because I loved going to Jashaka.
Right.
I started going to Just Shaka when I was 10.
Wow.
My uncle used to take me there.
Yeah.
And we used to go to a club called Bally High, which was in Streatham, right near the ice rink. Do you know what I mean? And another one of my uncles had a sound called Safana B.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And I Spy was my uncle as well. So I grew up around the sound systems. I used to like carry the wires.
Yeah.
Carry the wires in when I was 9. I used to carry the wires into the party, and I used to sit in the back of the sound in the van. Do you know what I mean?
Can you remember what record shops you were buying records from?
Dub Vendor.
Yeah.
That's when it was on St John's Hill before. No, that's when it was on Knights Hill before it moved to St John's Hill. And no, that's what, yeah. And Safana B's record shop in Brixton, and they're the 2 shops I was at mostly Dub Vendor, because Dub Vendor was near my grandmother's house in Clapham Junction. So when I leave mine, I'm like 9 years old walking around.
Yeah.
So I leave my house in Brixton, get the 37 bus to go to see my grandmother, stop off at Dub Vendor, buy a record with my little pennies. Do you know what I mean? That I nicked from somewhere. I was nicking.
For all the kids outside the school gate.
Exactly. Do you know what I mean? So I was always nicking a couple of quid here and there.
So you get introduced to reggae sound systems, but you said you got a passion for disco.
I love disco. Yeah.
So they're when you say disco, do you mean more like boogie?
Yeah, disco. You start
just
like relight my fire and shit like that.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? And Lolita Holloway.
Uplifting,
the South Soul
up-tempo.
side. Yeah, I just loved it. You know what I mean?
Because that kind of American sound, far more up tempo, far more emotive than reggae.
Yeah, we used to go to a club called Cat Whiskers. Cat Whiskers that's where I first saw Steve Walsh.
Right.
Steve Walsh used to be there. Tim Westwood used to carry his record box.
Do you think that was early to mid 80s?
This is late 70s, early 80s.
Wow, so you were very young.
Yeah, this is like, because Tuesday, they used to have Cat Whiskers, used to be like an adult club. But on Tuesdays, they used to have under 16s.
Right, okay. Yeah, that was a thing back
in the day. Do you know what I mean?
Wasn't it, a lot?
A lot of the under 16s. And then Steve Walsh used to play there, and I was fascinated by Steve Walsh.
Yeah.
Steve Walsh and Tony Blackburn. I just watched Tony Blackburn, and the geezer was a genius.
Mate.
He was a genius communicator. Tony Blackburn, just the way he worked the room.
Yeah.
I love Steve Walsh, but Tony Blackburn, the way he worked a room, and it was crazy because Tim Westwood and Steve Jackson used to carry Steve Walsh's record box.
Right. Well, I was obsessed with Tony Blackburn when he was on Radio London.
Tony Blackburn live then, was just magical.
Yeah.
His communication, I used to watch him and the way that he, subconsciously, obviously we're taking it all in me.
Yeah.
But at the time I was just so captivated by his energy, the way that he communicated with his audience.
Yeah. To anyone who's thinking, Frost and Bunt are talking about Tony Blackburn.
Genius guy.
If we could sum him up like you've already mentioned Rodigan, in the 80s to soul, that's what Tony Blackburn was.
Tony Blackburn
was Rodigan of soul like that.
Magical. The way he communicated with his audience, his interactions with the crowd at that time was just absolute genius.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, so these are the things that I want.
Yes,
I know you as a little so and so because we've had it out of you. So yeah, reggae and disco.
Reggae, disco, and dub.
Right.
Like when I say reggae, I'm talking about because I was a massive fan of Just Shaka. I went to Just Shaka and I was skanking, and I was like 10.
Yeah.
10 years old. And me and my friends was all at Just Shaka, right? We used to go to Peckham. We used to go to Phoebe's. And I'm thinking, hold on a second. I look back, I'm thinking, Mum, how come you let me out of the house?
Yeah.
I used to sneak out. But listen, I went to a lot of Just Shaka things and I was 10, 11 years old. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that is an amazing musical consumption.
Yeah.
I'm talking if you take dub sound system culture, you're soaking up this thing that like 2 decades down the line shaped one part of your history with the jungle. But then if you think of like the up-tempo disco mentioning Loletta Holloway, Relight My Fire, you was consuming like house tempos before house.
I loved it.
And you're taking all of this stuff in, your humongous brain.
Yeah, it's crazy because I remember at one point I built a tower in my house, in my bedroom. And I like all the amps, like a preamp, when you go to a sound system and they got the amps all stacked up. I had that in my bedroom.
Yeah.
I had that in my bedroom. I had like a thing with like a lion on it.
Yeah.
And I had all the amps stacked up and all the speakers. My mum would say, she used to come back downstairs.
Yeah.
Because I was obviously ripping it out of it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
It's so all of these musics that like get written about, like if you think of disco, it gets written in all of the house music books. If you think of dub and reggae, it gets written about in the history of jungle drum and bass. Like, this is the thing that fascinates me about you. I know you lived all of those moments and can share with the world, well, this was what sound system culture was like. This is what up-tempo disco music was like.
I was just like, because 2 of my uncles were avid record collectors.
Yeah.
One of my uncles, I remember, he turned up one day and he said, you can have all these records because I'm putting everything on reel to reel. And I was like, reel to reel? What's reel to reel? Do you know what I mean? Obviously, it's obsolete now. But at the time, and that's how I started getting all these records, because he gave me all the records.
Yeah, so
first of all, he turned up with a turntable called Lynn Sonder.
Right.
And these turntables are still expensive now, but back in the day then it was like a glass turntable and you had to lift off the whole thing to change the speed and like, man. And then he got to a point, he's like, Nigel, you can have these records. And that's how I inherited thousands of records.
What a gift.
So that's how I started my, do you know what I mean? Well, at first I thought I wasn't going to be a DJ or anything, but I decided it was records. Do you know what I mean? And then how I got into the DJing, we'll talk about it later on.
Yeah, so what year did you go to boarding school?
1980.
1980. And how long was you in boarding school?
4 years.
4 years. And you
left,
you regularly come back? You regularly...
I came back from boarding school some weekends, but mostly school holidays.
And was you...
And it was crazy because in boarding school we had a clubhouse with a record deck and speakers and everything. So I made that my little kind of place where I came back to London, bought all my records, and I started influencing all the other boys as well. And everyone joined my little club. Do you know what I mean?
Love that.
And then I had, so every play, every break or whatever, I'd be in there blasting. And we had probably like a little sound system in there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's where I started playing my music and all that. If you wanted to find me at break times, go in the clubhouse and I'll be in there playing music.
In that 4 years at boarding school, how did you consume music? How did you find out?
Well, you know, at that time we had, remember the magazine Black Echoes?
Black
Echoes, right? So I always looked through Echoes, and by the time I went to the boarding school, I was so entrenched in the culture that I knew everything. Because when I went there, I already knew everything already. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I already knew everything already. I had my list of the records. I went there with piles of records, and I was influencing other people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it was crazy because when I went to boarding school, there were all these guys that all mods, and they all played that baggy trousers and all that kind of. And I was fuming because I was like, this is not reggae. They're trying to say it's reggae. The selector, the beat, what's the name? The beat and the selector, all the madness and all that. I was thinking, this is not reggae, bruv. They're like, yeah, it's just like scars. And it's not. And I was absolutely fuming. I was like, this is cultural appropriation. You lot are trying to steal our culture, trying to steal our music. Yeah, don't try it, mate. Yeah, and I wasn't happy about it.
You was young and
I wasn't happy.
Did you influence them all?
I influenced them all.
Good.
What's the name of it? Baggy trousers, bad manners, selector, some other nonsense groups tried to tell me that was reggae and madness and all that. I'm like, and it's what's it called? Blue beat. get the hell out of here.
And
with that
it wasn't
rubbish.
for you.
That's not for me, bruv.
It wasn't
for me, mate. It's like cultural appropriation. Like you try to steal our culture, try to steal our music and write us out of the history. No, I'm not having it.
Do you know what? We're going to get onto house in a bit.
Okay.
With that mind frame, but not yet.
Okay.
But not yet. Right. Radio. While you was in boarding school, what radio was you listening to?
Dave, I listened to that. The only time I listened to radio was Rodigan on Saturday night, Tony Williams on Sunday. That was it. Never listened to another radio.
And what was Tony Williams on?
He was on Radio London.
Right.
So the 2 reggae shows. You had David Rodigan, who was the man. Tony Williams was the second man, and that was my radio. That was it.
And that's how you.
That's it.
That's how you learn.
That's it. No, how I learned to do radio.
Yeah.
We'll get there. So that Brian G actually taught me how to do a radio show.
What year did you come out of boarding school?
1984.
And 84 musically is a really pivotal time. Isn't
Yeah, 84. Yeah, 84. But when I came out of when I left boarding school, I had no interest in music. I just went straight to the streets. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
I went straight to the streets, man. Like I came out. I remember they tried to put me in a YTS course. I lasted a week. I was like, this ain't for me, and I just went on the streets. Do you know what I mean?
So hang on, you had all this passion for music, and you can talk passionately about all of this stuff. Like some of the names you mentioned at the start of this, from Miles Davis and Trojan and stuff. Then all of a sudden, you're still consuming music whilst at boarding school. Then you're teaching people about what real music is, or where the music they're listening to has come from. And then you get out, and are you saying you lose a bit of an interest in music?
No, there is, because I'm in boarding school, so I'm in a controlled environment for 3 years.
Right.
3.5 years. I'm in a controlled environment. Do you know what I mean? And then suddenly, I've left school, I'm let loose on the world. I don't have to go back to school no more. I don't have to be in the countryside looking at cows.
Right.
I'm in London now, and I've gone wild. I've linked up with all my friends. I've tried to go on a YTS course. I'm like, this ain't for me. But I see nice clothes that I like. I looked around, everyone was looking stylish. I wanted to be stylish as well.
Okay.
So I done what most teenagers do. They go a little bit wild. Do you know what I mean? And I joined the club. Was
you still buying records?
I wasn't buying no records then. I wasn't buying no records. I never bought no records until long after. I spent years on the streets.
Right. Was you going clubs?
Well, I kind of when I kind of got fed up of being on the street, because I was on the streets. I was a gang member, and I was up to like doing all kind of madness, like robberies and all street robberies, armed robberies, all kind of things. And then I kind of got bored of that, and then I discovered Soul to Soul.
Right.
And then I started going to the African Centre on a Sunday. Then I got to know Jazzy B and Trevor Nelson.
What year?
1986. This is 1986.
1986.
So I'm out of school. I've had 2 years of street. Come out of school. Then I've discovered Soul to Soul. Then I've kind of got to know Jazzy B and his brothers and Trevor Mad Hatter. Trevor Nelson.
Well, we used to buy records off of Trevor Mad Hatter in Red Records.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Up in Soho.
Right, do you know what I mean? So I got to kind of get to know them lot, and then, then I started getting in touch with my music. I started hearing records and thinking, I got these records.
Yeah.
Because I had all the records from my uncle.
Because they used to play a lot of rare groove.
Yeah, because my uncle gave me all these records. So I'm like, I've got all these tunes.
Yeah.
And then I met Brian G. You know what I mean?
What kind of... Soul to Soul, 1986, 87.
Yeah.
What records really spring to mind?
I feel like a king, and I just kiss my baby. That tune, man. Turn off the lights, and a record by Foxy called Mademoiselle.
That's down there. That's down there somewhere.
So that record there, I fell in love with it, and the rest is history when it comes to that.
Yeah. So you have a few years.
Sweet Power, James Mason.
Yeah.
Love it. Do you know what I mean? And I just got this whole rare groove thing. I just got just because I'm like, oh, every time I heard a record, I'm like, I've got that record, I've got that record, I've got that record. And I thought I might as well start playing records myself.
Because you had a lot of...
Because I had all the records. All the records I heard him playing at Soul to Soul, I'm like, I've got this, I've got that, I've got that, I've got that.
Yeah.
Because my uncle gave them to me.
When did you first start hearing house music?
It's funny because I was in Red Records one day and I heard this record going, and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
And I said, what's the name of that record? It's good. It's by a man called Armando. It's called Land of Confusion. And I'm like, I'd never heard anything like it. I said, give me that record.
Yeah.
And I bought it and I was just playing it. And I was like, I need more records like this.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was. I said, I need more tunes like this. And then I was like, where do I find these tunes? Then I went back to Red Records. I was like, any more records like this?
Yeah.
Guy goes, nah, it's just an import. It just came in. I'm like, I need to find more tunes like this. And then I went to Clink Street. Boom. I heard them all. I'm like, okay, that's what it is. Acid house. Because at the time when I first got that record, I was like, what is this? I had no clue what it was. I was like, all I knew is that I heard this record in the record shop. And I was like, this sounds mad, but I really liked it.
Yeah.
And everyone was looking at me like, you going to buy this? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to buy it. And I said, have you got any more tunes like this? And the guy's like, oh, I don't even know what it is. It just came in an import. And I'm like, okay. And I started asking other people, what is this? And everyone was like, I don't know what it is. Do you know what I mean? No one knew what it was.
Did they ever play house at, did Soul to Soul ever play house?
No. No house music there, mate.
No house, none of the early house. So your first encounter with house music is whilst out record shopping.
Yeah.
Radio, any?
Because at that time I didn't really listen to Kiss. Do you know what I mean? I didn't listen to Kiss at all, really. Do you know what I mean? I was just so into the streets, and then I got involved with pirate radio. Yeah. And I was just playing rare groove, Soul to Soul.
What year was you on? Did you start on pirate?
I was on Passion Radio from, say, 1986. I was on Passion Radio, but I was just playing pure rare groove and funk and stuff like that, and some hip hop stuff, and do you know what I mean? And that was it. And I had no interest in house whatsoever. I didn't even hear it until I started going to like other places and hearing like little bits and bobs, and do you know what I mean? I think I heard Masters at Work. Well, not even Masters at Work, because it wasn't Masters at Work then. It was just Louis Vega. Yeah. I heard Louis Vega. I was like, yeah, I quite like this. Do you know what I mean?
When did you meet Brian?
Met Brian about 1980. Just about the time when I was going to Soul. The story goes, I had nicked a lorry full of watches. I had about 1,000 stolen watches, and I'd nearly sold them all. And I was walking past a pub one day, and I heard Rare Groove playing. I was like, "Oh my god, I got all these tunes." Yeah. So I walked in the pub, and I see this dread playing the music, and I'm like, "Yeah." And I walked up to him and said, "Do you want to buy a watch?" And I was trying to sell. I had about 30 watches left. Yeah. Out of 1,000 or so. Do you want to buy a watch? And I said, look, I'll give it to you at a good price. And he's like, all right, then I'll get one, but you got to wait till I finish playing. I said, no problem. So I sat there waiting, but we ended up talking about music, and I'm like, yeah, I got all these records. And he's like, man, you should come and join me on a pirate station. I'm like, and he said, you should come on there. I said, yeah, that sounds good, because you got all these music, you should be on there as well. I was like, okay then. So he said, you got to do a demo. So I done a demo. It was absolute garbage. Right. He said, nah, it was crap. Yeah. So he's brought me to his house and he's gone, this is how you do a radio show. And he showed me how to do the radio show. He's taught me how to do a radio show. Yeah. So I got on the radio, and then me and him started becoming good friends. Do you know what I mean? And it was crazy, because I remember once I knocked on his door and I had a massive scar. This is when I just got this scar all the way down there, and I knocked on his door, and he's like, I think he was a bit scared because I had a massive scar down my face. How'd you get the scar? Are you going to talk about that or not? Yeah, well, I had a bit of a fight with someone, and I was in a blues party, and it was pitch black, and the guy cut me with a carpet knife. Right. But the thing about it is, I'm lucky because it kind of went, and it's like, looks like a groove in my face. Sometimes I forget I got a scar myself. Yeah. Sometimes I forget, and it's lucky because it could have been anywhere. And less spoken about that, the better, because
better.
the consequences were not great.
At that time. So
The consequences for him were not great.
So you meet Brian, like I've got to say, right, and obviously we'll work with Gareth at Data Beats.
Yeah.
Gareth Data Beats is a great backbone to all we do. Anyone who's ever brought a Music Mondays product gets it from Data Beats, and the same with a V or a Philly Blunt. And not to divert too much, but Gareth will tell you, Brian G, as much as I love you, as much as I love Kenny, as much as I love everyone else, Brian G for me is the ultimate music man. Brian G is the ultimate DJ's DJ, the ultimate A&R man, the ultimate like tastemaker. Like Brian G is just like the Don for me.
100%.
And
He's the guy. That man, I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you something, yeah? Brian G worked. He got a job at Mute, which is Rhythm King. Yeah. And he was working at Rhythm King. And I remember I was up there, I used to go up there, this is when I was on Harrow Road. And, we'd be there, and this is our first taste in the kind of corporate side of the music business. Yeah. And Brian's there. And this is the time when, this is the time of Betty Boo and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I remember just being around it, and Brian just fitted right in. Yeah. From then. And he always had an ear and an eye.
But mate.
He's always had an ear and an eye. Even now.
Oh, mate.
Listen to me. Even now, and if people will say, oh, we got a V demo. I said, listen, don't bother sending it to me. Yeah. Just send it to Brian. Yeah. I'll just leave it. It's got nothing to do with me. I'll just let him get on with it. Yeah. Because, you know what I mean?
For me, Nigel, if you was to say to an up-and-coming DJ, an up-and-coming label, and we'll get more onto Brian in a bit and the inception of the labels with you and him, but if I was to advise someone with who to be like, it would be Brian G.
Be like Brian G. I'll tell you something as well, the geezer. I remember once, right, I lost my mind. Yeah. I was walking around with a big Rambo knife about this big. Yeah. With all like a shark. We know the ones you cut sharks open with. And I had it strapped to me like that. And I was like walking around with it like, yeah. And I've gone into Brian's house and I'm going to roll a spliff. And I've taken it off and put it on the table. And he's looked at me. You know what he done? He confiscated it. Like a teacher. Right. When you go to school and the teacher confiscates your thing. He said, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in my drawer. And he confiscated my knife.
Good.
Can you believe that?
Well, I just, like I say, like
Brian G, I bet he's got it somewhere anyway. Yeah. I've never asked for it back. Right. He confiscated my knife.
Yeah. Good
on him.
Good. Like, listen, like everything about Brian.
Love him.
His endearing way, his smile.
Listen to me. The guy, I might say something, and he'll sit quietly and go, okay, Nigel. You sit like that for a minute and go, okay. He thinks first. Like me, I'm like, yeah. I'm not as much like that now.
No, you're not. You're not.
I'm not. But Brian is always, we go, okay, what we're going to do, right? And what he does, there's so many things that have happened that he doesn't tell me about. Yeah. Say, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just deal with this, and I will not tell Nigel. Yeah. Because it will not end well. Yeah.
What do you think, right? So you meet him in '86. Yeah. He teaches you how to perform on the radio and present radio. Yeah. Incidentally, there's sets of Nigel out there from like the late '80s. He talks totally different on the mic. Didn't you? Got to say me. He's got the real '80s presenter style. Yeah. What was it, right, from instantly when you're turning up to Brian's with being cut down the face, you've been sent off to boarding school, all that you was getting up to? What was it that made you just respect Brian instantly and him have that?
He just
that
had
calming influence on you.
Listen to me. My birthday is May the 29th. Yeah. Brian's is May the 30th. So his birthday's the day after mine. Yeah. He's like a big brother. Yeah.
How much older than you is Brian?
I'm not going to say.
All right. So, well, we'll get Brian on here in a few weeks, and he can tell me.
I'm not going to say, right? He's like a big brother to me. Do you know what I mean? And his influence on me has been profound, not just in music, but in my life and in me being the person I am today, do you know what I mean? Is a lot of it is down to Brian, and he's so happy the way I am now.
Yeah.
The way I am now, no one could be happier than Brian G.
Good.
Way, the person I've turned into, he's so happy about it, you know?
For me, it feels like he's someone, like if there was one person who you would want to, right now who's in this world, you're proud that he feels that way. I can see that.
Yeah, I'm very, if there's one person that I'm happy that's proud of me, it's Brian G.
Yeah. Who out of the two of you, when you're doing radio together, you're under his wing, who out of you both was the first to get the buzz for acid and house music?
No, we got it at the same time.
Exactly the same time.
We both went to King Street together.
Yeah.
We went to King Street together, right? We went to King Street together and we both looked at each other like this is it, right? It was me, Brian, and another guy called Pete Stewart.
Right.
But Pete just kind of fell away, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And got more into corporate stuff.
Can you remember roughly, because now the geek in me, he's really gonna go in. Can you remember roughly the time frame of 1988, like you went to Clink Street?
I think it was like late 87.
Wow, right.
Late 87.
This
Colin Hudd, Colin Favour, Eddie Richards
right.
played that night.
This is what I wanted to hear from you.
Yeah.
Right. So right. This is the exciting stuff for my geeky mind, right?
Go on, Geeko.
So
Go on, Gordon Geeko.
You discover acid house through the record shop.
Yeah.
You go to Clink Street late 87, early 88.
Yeah.
You mention Colin Favour, R.I.P.
R.I.P. Colin.
You mention Eddie Richards, who I believe
he's
one of the...
He's like a mentor for me.
Right. He is one of the...
Eddie is my first...
Yeah.
Eddie and Paul Trouble are my two mentors.
Mentors.
Those two brought me kind of in the business.
Right.
Eddie, because I played with both of them.
Yeah.
Every Thursday at the Fridge in
Yeah.
Brixton. Right. It was a resident. Me, LSD, Eddie Richards, Paul Trouble Anderson.
Right.
Every Thursday. Right. And Eddie signed me up to his agency.
Yeah.
And Paul obviously looked at me like a little brother because we both had a bit of the same kind of upbringing. Do you know what I mean?
So, for me, one thing that obviously I do on my pages when I share my love and passion for house is like I always frame it that I believe that it didn't simply just start in London or just start in Manchester, and more importantly, it most certainly wasn't just a handful of people who went to Ibiza and brought it back.
Yeah.
Now, those all of those DJs who went to Ibiza and brought it back, we love and respect their history.
Love the narrative. I love that.
Right,
I love that, but there's more to the story.
But there's more to it, in the same way that, like, sometimes I'll share Manchester records and go, well, wait a minute,
listen,
this Manchester record.
I'm going to tell you something.
Right?
I'm going to tell you something about Manchester because a lot of my family live in Manchester, and I spent a lot of time there growing up.
Yeah.
So I used to escape to Manchester and go to the Hacienda.
Yeah.
On a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And I used to go to Eastern Block. And my friend Mike E. Block used to sell me records, and I often used to come back with all these records that no one up south knew. So I'm going to give Manchester his props, mate.
Every time, right? And when you go down the absolute history of house in this country, it so much goes back to Eddie Richards and Colin Favour.
It goes back
as
to
far
Eddie.
back as 84 and
let's
85.
not forget Colin Hudd.
And Colin Hudd and Jazzy M in London.
And Jazzy M as well. We need to remember Jazzy M.
Every time.
The
Jazzy,
Vinyl Zone. You've got to remember Jazzy M.
Jazzy knows how I feel because
I remember he had a record shop down in
Chelsea.
In Chelsea.
Yeah.
And I used to go down there as well. Do you know what I mean? And he's such an innovator of house music. Yeah, let's never forget Jazzy M.
Yeah, that's from a London perspective. Now, from like, you then have the Manchester people and the Nottingham people, and there's so much. And like for me, like you mentioned Clink Street, you mentioned Acid House, you mentioned Colin Hudd, Colin Favour, and Eddie Richards, whose names all trace back in London playing house, like 84, 85.
Eddie for me was just, he just loved me. For some reason, he just took a shine to me. And he just said, listen, I want you to come on my agency, Dynamics. And Dynamics was the first agency like for rave music, as far as I know. Do you know what I mean? And I was part of it, and it opened up the whole world for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you go Clink Street, what were the first sort of acid underground parties that you played?
Well, I tell you, it's funny because we went to Clink Street, and then we started playing acid house on the radio. The people that own the radio station went mad. They're like, hold on a second. What happened to all the rare groove?
Yeah.
What's all this? We just went mad with acid house. Yeah. And we was on a station that was like a reggae, like a black station in Brixton. Yeah. They're like, what kind of devil music is this, man?
Because people framed it as devil's music.
They're like, this is devil. We were playing tunes like Dance with the Devil, all kinds of tunes. And people were like, what's all this about? So it was a massive culture shock for them. Yeah. Brie and Brian G got it in the neck. People were like, what the hell is this? Do you know what I mean?
Because the mad thing about house is obviously it is black music. Like acid house, Chicago, Detroit techno, like Detroit, the New York vocal house born out of the black gay scene and the gospel scene. And it's funny, like my first tracing backs, like when I geek with my other geeky mates, right, is like it traces back to like your Stu Allens and your Soul Patrols in up north, up north. It circles back to like Nottingham, but also house music circles back to being played at like reggae road shows and Mastermind sound system and stuff like that. So there's such a huge for me, we celebrate 88, 89, the Summer of Love, the meeting of minds, the ecstasy culture. We do celebrate that, and that is a narrative and a look that is right.
It's right.
But as a music fan, like to me, there's so much more depth to house, to dance music, to that electronic music, and that's something. It's something that I could talk about for hours and hours. And also, I feel like, especially like someone like Colin Faver, who's not with us no more, it needs to be understood that what he did in London for house music before anyone.
He was such a innovator, and he was so technical, and he was just a brilliant man. Really was.
And when I did, when I started doing like a lot of my posts and blogs, like little 5-minute framings of like, did you know this house record before house, or did you know this? Like, and I would explain things in like quick 5-minute succession of how I don't believe Ibiza Simply was the magic key to like acid and house, and people would come underneath my post and go, wow, we never knew that. Oh wow. But then other people would say, oh, but why don't anyone talk about Evil Eddie Richards like that, or Colin Faver, and a lot of people come underneath and said, well, some people are just not that bothered, or some people say, oh, we've heard, we know that's the story nowadays. But listen, I want those stories. I want those people.
Everyone, everyone looks at the Oakenfolds and that and blah 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 and thinks that's the be all and end all. And they were massively
huge inspirations.
Huge inspirations, but there's more to the story than just that.
There really is, and like that is why, like, no matter how much trouble you've been in your life, there's so much more in that brain that you see this stuff. I was there, so I know. And from a musical point of view, it's so important.
Let me tell you something. Look at this. I have never met Paul Oakenfold in my whole life.
Yeah.
I've never even met the geezer.
Yeah.
I've never seen him in the flesh.
Yeah.
Never. So this goes to show. It's like another fucking world. Excuse my friend. It's like another world.
Yeah. It is another world to us and our inspirations.
And I've got so much respect for the guy.
I've
never met him.
Yeah.
In my whole life.
Yeah.
I think that's the only DJ I've never met. Everyone else I've met.
Yeah.
I've never met the fella. And I know he's a lovely guy. I know people. I've never met him before.
Yeah.
I know he knows who we are and everything.
Of course.
But I've never met him.
Yeah.
But we know everyone else.
Yeah.
So You know, there's more to the story than the Okies and the blah blahs and the. Do you know what I mean? Danny Rampling, lovely.
Love
fella.
him. Listen, we DJ.
I love Danny Rampling. I love him. Yeah?
But there's other stories that it like you. What that's my thing. You are a pioneering acid, rave, hardcore, jungle, drum and bass DJ.
I think I'm linked to it all. I think I'm linked to it all. I'm linked to everything.
And your influences are different. And in the early days, the mix mags and the DJs, and I think one of the issues that we find in modern day journalism is the amount of interviews and the amount of like clippings and amount of like little pieces from documentaries that take that sort of take bits from all of those stories that told that story the first time around, but actually the regard in which you hold Evil Eddie is quite right. Like he's quite right and
general.
Yeah.
General.
Exactly.
If you ask Mr. C, Mr. C will tell you the same thing as well as the general.
Yeah. And for me, it's just,
I remember he used to have a thing called Wiggle. I think it was Wiggle.
Right.
Wiggle, his party, Wiggle. You know what I mean? I love the guy. I love him.
Yeah, no, I'm so happy that...
You know what was lovely as well? Years later, where was I? I was in Montreal. And I bumped into him. I was playing at a party in Montreal. And I'm on the decks and I look over. I said, that looks like Eddie Richards.
Yeah.
I see someone just there standing there looking at me. And I'm like, oh my God, that's Eddie. You know, it felt like, do you know when you see your old school teacher and you give him a massive hug?
Yeah.
That's what it was like.
What do you think Evil Eddie Richards seeing you?
I don't know. I'm going to ask him that the next time I see him. I'd love to ask him that because I don't know. And it's funny, I've never even thought about that either. Yeah. You know what I mean? All I know is that I love him. And he loves me. Do you know what I mean? I love the guy. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
And Paul Trouble Anderson, right? What just an absolute inspiring, soul-stirring DJ, musical
great
dog.
Dancer.
And do you know what I always think, right? And you know when people go, oh, DJs don't dance. You know when people get the hump. Do you know when people are like, a DJ should just be stood in the corner being all serious? And do you know what I think to myself, Nigel? You're insulting Paul Trouble Anderson. The guy, and that man could move, and he was the DJ's DJ.
He could dance. Do you know what I mean? You know, he's a good dancer as well.
Go on.
Groove Rider.
Really?
Geezer couldn't dance.
Right.
And Fabio, both of them, because they could bust a little step. Right. And you don't see that about Groove, do you?
No.
You could dance,
they could move. So back to your first ever playing at acid parties. And
So we're going to go back, right? So
because
we kind of skipped it. So I've gone to Clink Street. Weeks later, we get a call because me and Brian were on the radio. We get a call from a friend of ours called Tank. Right? Now Tank is a legend on the scene. Tank now has got a friend called Pete.
Yeah. Was Tank a doorman as well?
No,
he was just a raver.
He's just a raver, Tank. Yeah. Everyone, all the old ravers now, Tank, yeah?
Yeah.
Tank's gone, listen, we've got this new gaff called the Car Wash.
Yeah.
Yeah? And we're going to do Fridays and Saturdays. And
88?
88.
Right.
He said, we're going to get, and it's right near Lambeth Bridge.
Yeah,
just as you're going to go over the bridge, it was right there, Car Wash.
Me and Sonia and Richard Raindance about 20 years ago did a party there.
Yeah, right? So, Bosh. So, they said, we want you lot. We want you, Brian, Fabio and Groove Rider every Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
So every Friday and Saturday, we were there. Do you know what I mean? And that was our home for 2 years.
2 years is a long time.
2 years, that was our home.
2 years.
And that's how we started getting established and people getting to know who we was.
Yeah.
Because we was at the Car Wash every Friday, every Saturday.
And then you was at the Fridge every Thursday?
Yeah, but but the Fridge came a little bit after.
Right.
So let's say the Car Wash went up for it wasn't 2 years, it was about a year because it got shut down. Do you know what I mean? So, and then from there, I was at the Fridge. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My friend Raymond started this thing and it's called Hell.
Yeah.
And then, so I moved to the Fridge. Do you know what I mean? And it was crazy because at that time, we had the South London lot. And I'd always heard about the Rat Pack and heard about all these other DJs from East London, but we never played over there. I never went to Dungeons, never went to Crowland Road, Never stepped foot in any of those, but I just heard about them.
Yeah.
Because it was on the other side of the river.
Because you know what the mad thing was, and like it was always very like north, south, east, west. The rave scene. And DJs would have their following from their local area.
We're from South London. Me, Brian, Fabio, Groove. We're South London.
Yeah.
Then you had the East London lot. I heard about the Rat Pack. I'd heard about Richie Fingers. I'd heard about all these people from Kenny Ken. I'd heard these names from East London, but I'd never met them before.
Yeah.
And I just thought, and I heard about Crowden Road. I'd heard about the Dungeons. Never stepped foot in there.
You never went.
Never had no interest in going over there. Do you know what I mean?
And when you started DJing every Friday and Saturday at Car Wash, every Thursday at Fridge, you misbehaving behind the scenes.
Yeah,
you were
still misbehaving, because all my friends, I still had the same friends.
Right.
So I was still misbehaving, but less and less.
Right.
Less and less. It's starting to become less appealing. And I'm starting to earn a couple of quid here and there playing music. So you don't need to misbehave as much. Do you know what I mean? Because by that time, you're misbehaving to eat, to survive, to look good. Do you know what I mean? To have all your little things. That's why I'm misbehaving. Not because I wanted to, because that's how I earn a living.
Yeah.
But then you start earning a living playing music, so you don't have to misbehave as much, do you? Do you know what I mean?
Describe, because like literally you're talking about acid house in the inception, right?
Yeah.
Describe an acid house party at Car Wash, or the
Car
vibe
Wash,
of Fridge on a Thursday.
Car Wash is like, you come down there, the music's playing, people were just giving each other hugs. I remember when I first went to Clink Street and people would come up to me and want to give me a hug. I'm like, wouldn't we give you a hug? Because we don't come from that giving out hugs, man. We're from Brixton. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And someone come and say, can I have some of your water? I'm like, no. Because everyone like, hey, can I have some of your water? And everyone is sharing. I'm like, no. Because my mentality wasn't that. Do you know what I mean? But it was a beautiful thing. Such a beautiful thing. Do you know what I mean? The sharing and the loving and the kindness was so beautiful. And it took a little while for me to get used to it, you know?
Yeah. Did you, at that point, pop any pills?
Never. I was looked at everyone like, are you lot out of your bloody mind?
That fascinates
I never took drugs until I was in my 30s, mate.
Which
is crazy,
Nigel,
considering the road I went down.
That fascinates me, right?
I was never, like, I looked at it like, I was like, are you mad?
Yeah. Now, the atmosphere, the anticipation in the air.
Just beautiful vibes, man. Listen, I remember once playing at a car wash, because what we used to do, they used to have sometimes Fabio and Groove on a Friday and me and Brian on a Saturday. And I remember one night, Brian never came. I think he was ill or something. And I played the whole night on my own. Yeah. Right? Repeating records, everything. Yeah. But no one cared. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just like, my God. And it's the confidence you get from that. And you just build as a DJ, you build, and you got the crowd there, and it was mad, because we were lucky because all the South London parties, all the promoters from the big parties came there. Yeah. I met Tony Colston Hater. Tony Colston Hater come to me, he's like, I wanted to come and play at my party. I'm like, what's your party? Sunrise. I'm like, never heard of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to book you for it. I'm like, all right then. Met Tintin, Jeremy Taylor, Energy. And that's how I got to play at those parties, because they all came to the car wash. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I went from the car wash to Energy to Sunrise, Jarvis, Biology. And that's how we went from there to there. Do you know what I mean?
So that, because like another thing that's fascinating about that era, right, is that it was if you think of 2 years now, if you think of like 2 years ago is nothing to me and you. Yeah. If you think of like sitting on a beach in Corfu, seeing each other at your gig, playing after each other at Clockwork Orange or wherever, like 2 years is nothing now in our lives. 2 years flies by as you get older.
It's crazy.
But that period that you're talking about is so like mythological, and like in that 2 years so much happened.
So much, you know what it is? It's like the evolution of not just a scene, but a lifestyle.
A lifestyle.
a lifestyle and an inception of a generation of rebels that became friends, that became family.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, love that. So, because the other mad thing is that fascinates me about that era is like whether it's car wash, whether it's you mentioning hell at
The fridge,
the fridge, but then if you then think of like the
Listen, you got to remember, there was another place in Brixton called Mendoza's.
yeah,
This was on nearly every night, and that's where Fabio and Groove Rider started off.
learnt their skills.
They learnt their skills there.
And so much things then kind of like when you look back, some things only lasted 6 months or a year or happened 3 or 4 times in the summer at a massive rate.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't when you think of a moon dance that's been going for 30 years and certain things, like it was such a short period of time that created so much foundation and energy. And like in your head while all that was going on, could you vision a career?
No, because at the time you're just waiting for it to finish.
Yeah.
You're thinking at any time now it's going to finish.
Yeah.
You know? And how blessed are we? How blessed are we to have lived through this, but not just lived through it. I see how proud you are when you post pictures of your little face.
Of course, we did
at
it.
Labyrinth, right? I see a picture of you and Sozo,
Yeah.
right? And I think, how buzzing that. Look at you now. Do you know what I mean?
Listen, we are.
We
I know
are
it gets
beyond,
used.
We
We're
are beyond blessed.
We really are. I know it's.
We are beyond blessed.
I know, like we can be as cliched as we want, but something that we all. I mean, I come after you and Brian. I come like 1990 was the first time I played with you.
I remember you with your little grin and all that, mate.
Yeah,
I remember.
Yeah, right. So, but you know, I just look back and I think all I did was live for the weekend and buying records during the week. There was nothing else I needed to worry about. It was just like next weekend.
Listen,
and before you know it, right, we're like, it's 97, 98, and we're at the Sanctuary and we're passing by each other and we're all playing different music, but we're like, wow. And we're making more money than we ever envisaged at such a young age. And when I tell you, like, you couldn't even put a cliche into the inspiration of what it's like to 1 minute you just wanted the next weekend to come about and play your records, and then you're sitting here talking about that period, but also like understanding you've gone through life for it all. So that era, that period, 88, 89. Radio, I want to quickly talk about radio.
Yeah.
I really want to talk about radio, right?
Listen, my radio, because remember, as I said, I was at Passion, yeah? And then I was at Passion, and then I got so busy being a rave DJ, I just thought, I don't want to do the radio anymore.
Yeah.
And then I got a call from Kiss FM.
Yeah.
And I went to Kiss.
Yeah.
This is 93.
We'll get onto that in a
All
bit
right,
because we ain't missing out the hardcore and the other stuff, right? So pirate radio in 88, 89 around the acid music and the way in which certain DJs played that music. Like for me, you was all, like the crossfader, bam, bam, across,
whack.
Yeah, like just whacking the tunes around,
Whack it in.
and then and then also like the presentation style, because it was kind of still bordering on like the 80s soul DJs, but also all of a sudden there becomes little words and little phrases that are alluding to the acid and like we're going mad and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Radio rental.
all of that stuff, right? Well, did you ever have like a vision, like when you went up to the radio or when you went to a gig, did you ever have a vision or a creative sort of like vision of how you want to present or how you want to sound?
Nah.
Or like what was
I don't know, because what happened, right? I was on Passion with Brian, right? So we was on Passion Radio. Passion Radio, my name was something else before. I'm not going to say the name, right? Passion Radio, we decided to apply for a license. Because that time they were giving out the licenses, yeah? So they said, if you apply for a license, you got to come off air.
Yeah.
So we're like, all right, we come off air. And they said, then we said, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to come back on air under a different name, and we've all got to come up with these aliases as a laugh. And they said, you've all got to come up with a name just temporarily until. So I've got to tell you what, my name's going to be Jumpin Jack Frost. It's meant to be a joke.
Love that. I've always wondered.
I said, right, I thought, I'll tell you what, I want something that people are going to remember. Jack Frost, Jumpin Jack Frost. And it was just meant to be a laugh. And I developed this persona on the air when I changed my voice, and I was like, but people loved it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm staying like this. I'm going to keep, this is me from now on.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
When out of that 88, 89 pirate radio, acid house scene, when did you first start? So you're at the fridge, you're at car wash. When did all Sunrise Energy, all them start booking you? When do you start getting outside of London? And
we go back to Eddie Richards now. Dynamics agency. I'm at hell at the fridge on a Thursday. Eddie says, I'm starting an agency and I want you to be on it. And I was the youngest one on the agency.
Yeah.
Right? And there's Graham Park, Paul Oakenfold, Mr. C, Kid Bachelor, me. Eddie Richards, me.
Yeah.
I'm like, me. And like, yeah, you. And at that point, the world opens up for me.
Right.
That's when the world opened up for me. And I was like, all right, you're off to Germany, you're off to there, you're off to there. I'm like, really?
When did you first go abroad?
I was in Berlin the day the wall came down.
Right.
Playing at a club called Tresor, which is Hitler's old bank.
Wow.
It's downstairs in the basement.
Yeah.
And you got to go down these winding stairs and they've got all these little drawers. It's literally Hitler's old bank.
Yeah.
And I played there the night the Berlin Wall came down. I've still got big chunks of it.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. What a story. So 89, 90.
That's 90. That's 89, right?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah. So 89, 90. Like I sent you a set. Did you listen to that set I sent you?
Yes,
of
yes,
you, right?
yes.
Do you know what I was going to do? I was going to remaster that set and clean it up, and I'll put it up on our pages, right? So I found this set of Nigel's from late 89, 90, and it's just deep tribal house, techno, acid, early bleep. It's deep. Like seriously, it's not like Career, Let Me Love You for Tonight, or the Phantom, Renegades.
When I'm ready to go in,
I'm
ready to go in, I'll go right in.
You're in on that one.
When it's that time, what I need to do is do it all night.
Yeah.
I need to do it all night. Maybe me and you can do it. Acid house party all night, and I can really go in.
You can go in. So
I can go proper in.
Yeah, there's sets of yours from 89 from radio where it is Rhythmy's Rhythm and Strings of Life, and it is what you're clearly playing at the big field raves and all of that stuff. But there is also sets where you are deep, and even geeks they'd have to dig for these tunes.
Listen to me. I'm going to tell you something. There's a little group. Right, a little group on Facebook with these little geeks.
Yeah.
And they all say, what's this, what's that?
Yeah.
One of my friends, big shout out to my friend Tom, he's part of the group.
Right.
And he said to me, all the geeks are always talking about these tunes that you played that they don't know what are. Yeah. They have no clue what any of them is.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Trust me, there's so much there. Describe that. There's a video of you of Energy actually with Paul Trouble Anderson and Evil Eddie on the decks, Fantasy in the crowd, Mickey Finn behind the decks. And I'm sure you get on the mic and say Evil Eddie on the 1 and 2.
I don't think so.
I'm sure it's you.
No, it wasn't me. No chance. I remember that. That was my first ever Sunrise, and I was shaking like a leaf.
Right.
There's no way I got on the mic. Frankie Bones played at that party.
Right.
Frankie Bones played at that party. I remember that because I was in Ipswich where they set the car on fire, and then I remember we drove around all night. It's Dance 89. That was
right. Okay.
And I remember everyone. Sorry, I got a cough. Everyone drove around all night.
Yeah.
Because they changed venues about 4 times. When they finally got a venue, it started about 6 o'clock in the morning. And I remember going, they said, you're on now. And I was like that, shaking like a leaf. So there's no way I got on the mic.
Right,
I'll tell you that now.
I'm going to show you.
There's no way I got on the mic.
I'm going to show you what
No
I think.
chance.
I'm going to show you what I
That
think.
must have been. That must have been Timmy, Hardcore General.
Right. Okay.
Must have been Timmy.
We'll have a little look at.
Yeah,
we'll have a little look.
There's no way that was me. I was like, get on the mic, mate. I was shitting it just to even get on the decks.
Yeah. So some of the sets that I find of yours from '89, whether they're the deeper ones or they're the big sort of Detroit techno and Chicago tunes of the time.
Yeah.
There's always in that time of like '89. There's always house tunes, there's techno tunes, breakbeat tunes coming in, and you had a real knack for either doing really deeper sets or like having a vast variety of sound in your set.
Was obsessed with Underground Resistance.
Yeah,
I loved them.
Yeah,
Mike Banks and them lot. I loved them. Even when I went to Chicago, I went looking for them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I even went looking for them. Do you know what I mean? Not Chicago, Detroit. When I went to Detroit, I went looking for them.
So in that 88, 89, you have a complete understanding of all the different forms of house.
Everything. I knew everything.
When you was 8, 9, 10 years of age, you understand disco. You're obsessed with reggae. At the turn of 89, 90, and we start getting more bleeps. We start getting more sub bass. The break beats start coming into the music. What was you thinking when you was hearing that for all that?
I was having a conversation the other day with a good friend of mine, Mark, and he runs a sound called Iration Steppers, which is a massive.
Ital Rockers. They had that huge.
Right,
bleach,
we put that record out.
Yeah.
Me and Brian put that record out.
Yeah.
So we was really at the forefront of the bleep thing.
Yeah,
with the whole Leeds thing. And at the time, Brian was working at Rhythm King.
Yeah.
So we put out all the Warp stuff. Well, not me, but I'll say we because I was around it.
The label, the company. Yeah.
Right. So we had access to all that early, this label here. So Brian G was responsible for all these kind of things here, and first put out Moby.
Yeah, of course he did.
Moby first came out on this label, so we was at the forefront of all these kind of old tunes from. Do you know what I mean? And the whole thing from Warp LFO.
Yeah,
I remember having LFO on a dub plate. And everyone was like, what the hell is that? So we was at the forefront of that. We was at the forefront of that. We gave everyone their promos of LFO.
Yeah.
If you knew us, you'd have a promo.
Because that was LFO. 1990 was a major turning point in...
If you were our friend at that point, you had a promo of LFO and Nightmares on Wax. You had all those things on white label.
So that
from us.
That era there, like... I feel like, so let's say you whether you had Shut Up and Dance, London, Rebel MC, some of the music he made with Tenor Fly in that
good
period,
stuff.
Unbelievable.
And you know the thing about it as well, because we had access to all that as well, because we were really lucky. We had some really good mentors, like Simon Goff, who still does a lot of my management stuff now. And he manages Ronnie, and he now works with Giles Peterson at Worldwide and the festival, and he's been with us since day one.
From day one.
So he was the one that time he had a company called Secret Promotions,
right?
And they done all the Shut Up and Dance stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He done all that stuff. Do you know what I mean? Dave Lee was another mentor of ours.
Yeah.
Joey Negro.
Yeah.
He was a big mentor, big influence on both myself and Brian.
He was his influence.
He had so many aliases.
Yeah.
He had Joey Negro, Raven Mays, Masters of the Universe was even cheeky.
Of course it was.
Right?
Yeah.
So we were lucky because all these people were just there
to help and
advise. I sat with Dave in his office for hours at a time.
Yeah.
Joey Negro for hours at a time.
Yeah, inspiring people.
At least 2 days a week, I sat with him. At least 2 days a week and watched how he works and how he ran the label and how he operated.
Yeah.
So I would, subconsciously, you're taking it all in and you're learning all the time.
Yeah, that 1990 period, whether it's like the the Tower Rockers, the up north like Bleeps and Bass, or like I said, the London breakbeat sound. I always find that year 1990 really incredible. It's like that's where things start really turning, and with Frankie Bones' influence in New York,
the Bones break stuff and all that.
Yeah.
You know who else as well at that time? DJ Hype. He used to be called
Hype.
DJ Hype used to be called Dr. K.
Yeah.
And he used to release these crazy mashup records. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he was really
he was really ahead of his time.
Yeah, I remember, like I said the other day, I did a podcast with my daughter. Like, she's like really fascinated with all of our histories, and she was asking about pirate radio and stuff. And I said, in the period that I started, 1990, like Hype's name was like on everyone's
But he was, listen to me, but he was first of all, he was
before
Dr.
that,
K.
the record's here. The record's here
before
somewhere,
DJ Hype, he was called Dr. K.
Yeah.
And the tunes he used to put out, because he used to work at the was it BLM, some music school,
right,
where they taught, and he used to work there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And they used to put records out on that label.
Yeah, when I worked in a record shop in 89, 90, literally Hype's night, like everyone, have you got that record Hype played? Have you got that? He was like some people are just like from day dot born to be.
The guys are just
and he was
genius.
he was that guy.
Absolute genius.
Yeah, he was that guy. Whereas most people had to learn on the fly.
Yeah, he was a genius. He's always, I looked at him and thought, this guy.
Yeah,
he was a bloody genius, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely agreed.
DJ Hype.
European rave, hardcore, out of that breakbeat.
Listen to me, mate.
Era.
I was lucky enough to work with so many people. Like, I remember going to Frankfurt and working with, I forgot the name of the guys, man, but Sven Vath.
Yeah.
And I remember that whole Frankfurt movement. I forgot the name of what's the name of the club that used to be in the airport? In Frankfurt Airport. It used to be in a club in Frankfurt Airport,
right.
Techno Club, and we used to play in there. And then after I met CJ Boland, Frank DeWolf was such a
Frank
cool guy.
DeWolf, what an absolute don. Yeah,
I've done so many gigs with Frank DeWolf, CJ Boland, because I used to play in Rome a lot. I used to play in Rome quite a lot.
And that was 91 times?
91 times. Yeah. I used to play in Rome quite a lot. And then I met Renard, and that was from RNS.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I've done a lot of work with those kind of guys, the Belgians and stuff like that. So I was so lucky and fortunate to be able to be in all these different places. Do you know what I mean?
Mate,
it's crazy.
It seriously is. It's such an incredible story that like.
And then after that, now I met the guys from Amsterdam Lower East Side Records.
Yeah.
And I worked with all these people, which was just. I look back now and I think, how fortunate was I?
Because it is a magic period. It's literally a magic period that like everyone of my age who loves like the history of rave and like all of its inceptions and starting and how it got to from acid to jungle, etc. You lived through all of those changes, like not just lived through them. You was at the cusp. You was at the cusp of them all.
I remember coming out of Tresor early in the morning, one morning, and the Berlin Wall had just come down.
Yeah,
and I walked through the wall from West into East Germany and walked along looking around like that. Crazy.
And the other thing...
And the wall had just come down.
do you know something that's fascinating within this is like now the career path as a DJ is to have your tune, like, well, now it's having your tune massive on Spotify, then it was having a big anthem in the clubs, or now that so much is put on social media and blah blah blah. But you didn't even have a tune in 91 with your name on massive.
No, I didn't.
You didn't. If you think of that time, like if we say SL2, Bizarre Ring,
I never had no tunes.
You never had no tunes, and you are going all to the coolest places in Europe.
Yeah.
Just off the back of like the legacy of DJing in that moment in time.
Me, man. And I was just so lucky. And I got to go back again to just being around Eddie Richards, and that agency had so much power at that time. Remember, they were representing Paul Oakenfold, they were representing Graham Park, Pickering, and I was just there in the mix with them, all them lot. So, you know, I was lucky, do you know, as well, because they always say if you're in the right crowd, you know.
Yeah, well, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
The timing, the place where the people I was associated with plays a massive part. Do you know what I mean? Because when your names get mixed up with people like that, it's going to help.
Yeah, that whole techno, that whole R&S Euro mixed with like the British sounds that were happening. It was a really exciting. It was a really
definitely.
exciting era. I think
I was so because I used to sit back and think, okay, now I'm going there. All right, now I'm going there, and I thought, soon this is going to all end, and it never did. It never did.
It never ever did. So 1992. Like I told you, this would be music, didn't I?
I love that.
Yeah, good.
Sorry, I'm just reading through some of these things.
Yeah, there's loads there, right? So 1992, like up to your DJ style, like say 88 through to 91 to the end of 91, you'd play music from all over the world.
Yes.
Like, but 92, it really like all sort of like DJs who went the more rave breakbeat route, it all becomes very British sort of centric.
It became British, mate. And what happened? I remember tunes. We had tunes with the breaks and the 4x4. Yeah. Then they started taking the 4x4 out, and it just became breaks, and that is when it just became all British.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I remember Radio Babylon, Meet Manifesto.
It's here.
Right.
They're all here. That little section.
Meet Manifesto. That when that Babylon, woo, all right, and that break came in, and I think that came from Europe, and that influenced so many people.
That was 1990. That was so far ahead of its time.
Yeah, and the thing about it, I got that record from Sven Vath.
Really?
Sven Vath gave me that record.
Wow. I've got to find it.
Sven Vath, there it is. There it is. Woo, all right.
1990, but that was the sound that was to become.
Sven Vath gave me that record.
Yeah.
He gave me about 5 promos. He gave me that one, and he said, here's another record. You might not like it. It's a bit of a pop record.
Right.
Called Power by Snap.
Oh, Snap. That's down here as well.
I got them all at the same time.
Yeah.
Same day.
So 92, like, DJs, that's when we started seeing DJs becoming just house, or DJs becoming just techno, or DJs going, right, I'm just playing the breakbeat, or the, you know, pretty like a revolutionary time. Music even started getting far faster if you went the rave route. Did you at that time go, was you feeling like a real, like, this is British, this stuff, or?
Nah, I wasn't feeling, I was just playing music that I liked, man.
Yeah.
I was not patriotic
about it.
About
nothing. Yeah.
There's no patriotism there, mate.
It was just music.
Yeah, because, you know, if a record came from anywhere and I liked it, I'll play it. You understand?
Yeah.
But it just so happened that we were creating our own sound.
Right. I guess
just
really
so happened.
That's what I was alluding to. Did you recognise in that, especially the summer of 1992, where we still had music that kind of had the vibe of 91, but then...
When Lenny the Ice done We Are E, yeah? When Lenny the Ice done We Are E...
91, that was
right? And then you had that, what have you done?
I still play it to this day.
And then you had people like George Kelly and Cool and Flex, early days.
Yeah.
And I got to give a big shout to the Underground lot.
Yeah.
Because they were so active then.
Yeah.
Right? Do you remember a guy called Big John?
John, mate.
He used
John
to come around with a van.
down and bring his record. Yeah.
The Enthusiasm. Yeah. Those lot. And they were all the East London lot.
Yeah.
Big, rest in peace, Randall.
Yeah.
All Randall's lot from the Underground crew.
Yeah.
They were so busy and they were so enthusiastic. Remember John? He was so enthusiastic.
John was everywhere.
John was everywhere
giving out promos. And
those slippers you're wearing?
Of course, yeah. I'm disappointed you didn't.
Man's wearing his slippers, you know. Man's wearing his slippers, you know.
Do you know what, Nigel? Like what I do, I'm just diverting a little bit, and then we're going to get on to 92 and 90 or 93. Now it's a really big thing for me. I played out on Wednesday night at a place called Ramona. It was jammed. It was jammed.
In Manchester?
In Manchester.
The radio
thing. It was
it's
jammed.
good. I love that.
It was jammed. But
they
was all like, oh, my thing on the mic is if you're over 40, put your hands in the air.
Yeah.
Everywhere I play, 99% of the crowd's like,
Food's great there as well, isn't it?
Yeah, we're over 40. This was the first time, like probably ever in my old school DJ career, I'm like, if you're under 25, put your hands in the air, and everyone was like that, right? Every and I was like, wow. But you know what? Like, I did a 3-hour set, and it was just pure, like, I went in, like, 88 to 93, 94. But what I do now, and I do it with, whether I'm on the radio with the older crowd, and more, and it meant so much to me, like, when I played music from Lenny Dice, when I played music from Keith Flint, just like playing music from Jason Kay, like it's so important for me to pull up the tune and
let me give you a
show
story.
my love on the mic, and especially to a younger crowd, and they were so enthusiastic, you know.
Let me give you a story, right? So, loose ends, it's got to be, yeah. I knew it
just from the
I
side.
knew it from that. I saw that and I was like, that's got to be loose ends.
Yeah.
Right, let me put it back in there. So let me give you a story, right? Because you said Keith Flint, you've triggered a thought, right? So we're going to go back to when we were saying about people that influenced. So when we used to be in Simon Goff's office all the time, I remember Simon Goff saying, listen, I've got a new assistant coming in. Yeah, he's from Bristol. His name's Nick Hawks.
Love Nick. Right. We love Nick.
And Nick used to come in and make the tea and blah, 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 blah. And Nick came up, done his apprenticeship. And then Nick said, I'm going to leave and I'm going to go and work with Tim. Because Tim from Groove Records,
XL,
had just started a new label called XL.
Yep.
So I'm playing at Donington Park.
Right.
For Amnesia Russ. And I'm playing T99. I'm playing T99.
Are you going to make me get all these records?
You're going to get it out again.
I can't.
I've started playing. I'll play T99, right? Yeah. I'm playing T99. It's gone off.
Yeah.
At Donington Park, 10,000 people. Nick Hawks has come from nowhere. What's that record? Yeah. I'm like, T99. He signed it on Monday.
Yeah.
And it went number one.
Nick is such a huge...
And he's such a great... Because he was there.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm playing T99 on import. Nick Hawks has turned up. He's come from nowhere. 10,000 people. Nick Hawks has just... What's that record, Nigel? I'm like, T99. Yeah. He signed it Monday. It's gone number one. National.
To put context
I never got no commission.
Yeah, to put context on, because we're talking about someone we both admire really well. Nick Hawks is like an industry legend. Like, he still manages Prodigy to this day.
I was playing Your Love.
Yeah.
And he says, what's that? And he signed Prodigy as well.
Yeah, well, he was...
I never got no commission.
He signed
T99 and Prodigy because he heard me playing the records. I never got no commission.
Yeah, he was very... He's a very influential man, and he's signed so many big acts,
Absolute legend.
Big tunes.
Absolute legend.
So 92, a pivotal year for British rave, breakbeat music. It's like literally... We are speeding up. As DJs, we are speeding up. The people who are feeding DJs music around us, from whatever part of the UK they're from, the music is speeding up, right? And it's becoming pure British. 1993. Actually, before I do that, was you getting up to no good 1991, 92? Or was you a good Nigel?
I taken my foot off the gas, but I did get arrested with firearms.
We know the story.
Yeah, I did get arrested with a firearm in my ass.
Yeah,
so obviously I wasn't going about doing bits, but I still had little bits and bobs.
You still had.
So I had a 9mm Glock and a hand grenade in my house.
In your house, and how did they come to find it in your house?
Funny thing is, I got rid of the hand grenade.
Right.
It's a lucky thing, but I got arrested with the firearm.
Nigel, before we get on to 1993 and like the
way you said that, you sound like my mum. Nigel, right. I'm going to go, what? Go on.
So here you are
Yeah.
Like literally, you can just roll off anyone from Paul, like from Sven Vath.
Yeah.
Right. You can literally roll to Ice-T. Right.
Yeah.
You can roll off
Look,
names.
I can look in there and show you my WhatsApp message.
Yeah.
1 minute. Let me get it out. 1 minute.
Right.
Go on, keep talking.
You can literally roll off names like it's nothing. Like they're like pivotal, legendary people. I can see you talking. I know how close you and Ice-T are, right? Are you going to play me a message?
Yeah, man. What's up, Frost? Yeah, people talk too much nowadays, man. I think now the podcast era is all about telling and all that shit, man. You know, like, I ain't confessing to nothing, man. The past is the past, man. I'm square.
I'm square.
There you go. So yeah, I know. I right. So you're moving in all these circles. You're going abroad, like in the UK rave scene. Like you're loved and adored at all these hardcore parties and these rave events. What makes you have a hand grenade? And what did you say? A 9mm?
Yeah, Glock, and I had a machine gun as well.
And a machine gun,
Yeah.
right? What? How old was you?
I've always had a firearm since I was like 15.
Right.
I just kind of chopped and changed it. I updated them.
Right.
Updated. And in the end, I ended up with a submachine gun, a Glock, and a hand grenade.
At that point, with your success, hang on, 67, 77, 87, 20, you're 26-ish.
Yeah.
It's young.
Yeah.
Come on, my kids are older than that.
Yeah, so am I.
But what made you still want to have
Because
kind of artillery around you?
it's just the way it was, man. Like, you know what I mean? Because I was like, I've shot at a few people. I think I shot about 3 people in my time.
Right.
And I was ready to do it again at any point. Like on a second's notice, it was not a problem for me.
Right.
Not a problem at all.
Do you think as well, because you are so well, because of how loud you are, because of how brash you are, because of the success you would have been having as Jumpin Jack Frost, the DJ, not just all over London, but UK, Europe, do you think that also played on your mind, that I need to have this here?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't even think about what it was, because I lived that life, and it's like, do you know what? I'm not going to get caught slipping. No one's going to catch me like slipping and catch me like you. I mean, it's like, if you come to me with anything, I'm going to shoot.
Yeah.
Straight away. It's no, like, I'm not even going to think about it. I will shoot you straight away. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't a problem.
And that pit, it just fascinates me, because like the world who love the rave scene, who are fascinated by your track lists and your name on the flyers, like you've just got this in your head of like there's just drama. You know that there's going to be drama at any moment around you.
Yeah,
that's what you're saying to me, innit?
Yeah, at any point something could happen.
At any point,
and I will shoot. I will shoot, and I will shoot. I will shoot anywhere as well.
Yeah.
I will go to your house and shoot. It wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
It wasn't a problem for me at all. I've shot. I was shooting at someone in Brixton High Street at 3:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, someone had done you bad.
Someone done something to me, and I was chasing them, and I started shooting. Innocent bystanders, everything there. I didn't care.
Right, because that person had done you so
violation,
bad, and you just had to.
Yep, that was
hurt
it.
you, and that
was it.
That was it. You didn't care.
I didn't care.
Had you dabbled? No, you couldn't have done, because you said you didn't.
No,
dabble.
I never started taking drugs
till
I was in my 30s.
In your 30s,
which was crazy, because I was dead against it. Dead against drugs.
Right, mid to late 92.
Yeah.
When do you start hearing the music or hearing artists where you go, wow, this is different now. We're going in a different direction now.
Do you know what, right? I swear to God, this one of the first people, and I wish if I had a record label, at the time, there was a guy called Dave Charlesworth.
Come on, are you going to make me get Dave Charlesworth records?
I would have signed that guy. I would have signed. I was just fascinated by him. Yeah. When that started again, dude. I would have signed that guy. Do you know what I mean? I would have signed him. He was just like, I was just like, yeah. We hadn't started our label by then, I don't think we started our label then.
When did Deceivers come? Was that late 92 or early 93?
I think we had started the label then.
I think Deceivers...
I think it was 92, 93.
Like, Deceivers is in my head as
it
late
92
or 93.
It is. I think it's 92. Do you know what I mean? But, yeah. Do you know what I mean? But Dave Charlesworth, but it didn't really fit with our sound of our label. But I loved him.
He was
this
wicked.
guy was just absolutely amazing. And Neil Tricks as well.
Yeah.
I love Neil Tricks. Do you know what I mean? Because, and you know what was great as well? Because I got to experiment a lot. Because when I played at the Eclipse, at the Edge, it was a place where you could just play whatever.
Yeah.
I remember, because I'd always play late, like 5 a.m. And you know what used to really hack me off? Because I used to play my set, and then around about, like, we're playing like 6 till 7, 5 till 6. Then all of a sudden, all these girls turn up, about 500 girls,
right,
saying, "What time's Sasha on?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? What time?" Because they all love Sasha.
Yeah.
Like, what time's Sasha on? People would come at 6 o'clock in the morning just to hear Sasha. And with that time, I was experimenting with, like, this is when we first got Ronnie and Crust, and I was experimenting work. Does this work? Does that work?
Yeah.
And you could do that at the Edge, at the Eclipse.
Right, okay.
But when the girls came, they just wanted to hear Sasha. That was it. And I love Sasha. I love you.
Yeah, what a legend!
I love the guy.
Like when you go back through the history of DJs in house.
I love him. You know what's lovely about him, because we shared a residency in New York. I used to play. Me and Brian G. We had a residency at the Sound Factory, otherwise known as Twilo, the most legendary New York club. We were residents for 2 years on a Friday. And Sasha and Digweed were doing the Saturdays, so I'd often see them there in New York.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
When I go back to old sets, like, his mixing was just impeccable.
Yeah.
His mixing was absolutely impeccable. 1993, I always say, I think is like a pivotal year in UK breakbeat music.
Because it's the year of, I call it Splinter Cell.
Yeah.
Where everything starts going off in different shooting off in different directions.
1,000,000%. And, like, you kind of start tracing it to 92, but 93 is like when, if you're going the hardcore, whether that's in the...
You know what I used to love? I used to love playing at that club in Mansfield.
Right. Oh, Vibralite, Venue 44.
Zest.
Oh, right, okay.
And we'd go there. I'd always play like 8 in the morning or something, because it went on till God knows when.
Yeah.
And I always ended up playing like 5. And when I go there, I just experiment and just take it really deep. And that was where I learned, all right, I want to use that. Because some places you go as a breeding ground for your set.
Yeah, of course.
You can go there and you can really think, all right, I can work out what I'm going to do here. And you know what I mean? It was crazy, because it also reminded me of Twin Peaks, because I'd always roll into town when the mist is coming in, like 5 in the morning. Like, always the last set of the night, roll into Mansfield, and it's like all foggy, and you go in there, you just dark it out. Do you know what I mean? And this thing come out of there like, okay. You know what I mean? Especially when we were experimenting with the V sound, and see where there's this music, because obviously we had Ronnie and Crust and Die, and we were just testing out what works and blah blah blah. Do you know what I mean? The most legendary time when I done that was I played at Universe Global Gathering.
Yep.
And I remember going with Crust and Ronnie, and I just played a whole set of their tunes.
Yeah.
And this is before anyone even knew who they were. And at the time, everyone was like, "What's this?" But now everyone's like, "Remember that set?" Do you know what I mean?
What do you think drew you, right, in that 93 period, to those darker, more intelligent, more futuristic sounds? What was it like? You'd been through a lot of music, and like
you know what it was, because it reminded me of underground resistance, man.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It reminded me of UR.
Right, so it had that edge,
edge, that depth.
Yeah.
that depth, man. That's why when Goldie came out, it was the same thing. It reminded me of that same kind of depth, you know.
If you was to take, right, we've sort of like gone from you going Clink Street to this 93 period, and if you was, could you pinpoint in that 88 to 93 what music excited you the most?
It's I went through a very what I called fairy rave tunes,
right?
Like happy hardcore, hands in the air tunes. I just hated it. I hated everything it stood for.
Because after 90, it had been so much up to 90.
I'm like, that's not for me at all, and I absolutely hated it. I started saying I'm not going to play at Dreamscape no more. Yeah. I'm not going to play at Helter Skelter no more. Yeah. I just went off it. I'm like, I'm not playing it at the place no more because it just represented that, and I absolutely despised it. Do you know what I mean? And then I started kind of liking it again.
You like doing a piano set.
I love a piano set.
Let me tell you about Nigel, right? Nigel gets the hump if he comes to Unity in the Sun.
I rolled it out. I smashed it.
And I don't
I smashed it on a boat party. I played a hardcore set.
You really did.
And I smashed it.
You really did.
I did.
You loved every minute of it.
I loved it.
See, yeah, that's the thing for me. Like, just what it was about that moment in time that buzzed you, and if you could choose, like,
just listen. It was like the whole thing was. You look back now and you think, how magical is it to have that array of music? Yeah. Do you know what was funny? Because it's crazy. We was at the Stevie Hyper D screening, the first one, and I was there, and I saw Dougal's dad.
Come on. We love.
Listen, and I remember that man has documented everything. He's got it all. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And I remember seeing him, I just saw him, I thought, come here, you. I gave him a massive squeeze. Yeah. And I'm like, mate, he's like all of our dad. Mate, he's like all of our dad.
I
love the man.
I see Dougal's dad maybe once every 10 years if I think about it. So I speak to Dougal a lot. I speak to Dougal in the same way I speak to you. And the Sanctuary reunion last year, Paul Dougal took his dad, and like me and Sonia, we hadn't seen Paul's dad since a rave story. Dougal brought his dad to the rave story.
I love him.
And there were so many artists and so many people, and me and Sonia were like, yeah, we just want to see Paul's dad.
We just want to see Paul's dad. I love him, man.
We just want to see Paul's dad. The reason why 93, I think, is so pivotal to your trajectory in jungle drum and bass, right, is because so much creativity and futurism was thrown in the mix, whether that was from Terminator, you've already mentioned Neil Tricks, you like Tango and Ratty.
Tango.
But then you had like the first wave of like you guys discovering Ronnie Size and the Bristol lot. And the reason why I think possibly my musical brain is excited about 1993 and you and Brian and V and Groove Rider and Fabio and that group, that movement of people is kind of like, they are, yes, we can all talk about acid house. Yes, we can say we heard breakbeats in certain tunes in 1990. Yes, we can say Meat Beat Manifesto and We IE, they are the foundations of jungle because of their makeup, or the foundations of drum and bass. But I think 93 is when we really see tunes that are like, that is the blueprint in tempo, in creativity, in futurism. And I feel that so much of 1993 has stuck with everyone from then to now.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, it's like, as I said, it was like the splinter cell, that everything just went like this. You got to remember, we all kind of came from that thing, and it's like hardcore, the British kind of hardcore thing was all, and it always will be, that bass. Homeboy hippie funky dread.
I'm not getting it. I'm not going to get it.
Go on, get it out.
No.
Right. Listen, I don't know. This geezer, he's like read my mind. He's got them all there in that one section. Everything I've said is in that one section. Yeah. Now, I'm just going to say, like, so that inception of that whole movement, that we are all from.
Yeah.
We are all, that's the root, and we're all the little branches.
Yeah.
It's so important because it is the root. Because remember, we were influenced by Detroit, Chicago, Belgium, blah blah blah, and then we done our own thing.
Yeah.
And then that root grew into the hardcores, the jungles,
Yeah.
and it just grew, and and it goes round, and it meets each other, and it comes back again. They get married, and they never get divorced. They just go off, and they come back again, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Not 93 is just pivotal for me. Like all around, all around, it is a pioneering year. Moving into 94, jungle, drum and bass, whether that's ragga jungle, whether that's like just instrumental, just like breakbeat jungle music, early sort of like, come on, especially with V and Philly Brunt, that prototype drum and bass sound.
Yeah.
That's when as a fan of you and a fan of buying records and music, no matter what path my career was on with hardcore, that year, if 93 I look on as like, there's some foundations in that. 94, 95, that's when it's like,
Do you know what's crazy?
hit.
Because I recorded Leviticus the Burial
in
93.
I remember you.
I recorded it in 93. That's when I got arrested for firearms, for possession of firearms, and I knew I was going to prison for a bit. So I thought, keep myself busy, and I recorded that record. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it changed my life,
Yeah. Describe that being. How long did you go away for the firearms when that came out?
I was really lucky because I was arrested for possession of firearms, but there were no bullets in my house, so it was just a firearm. And I said, "Listen, I'm being threatened." And I just got 6 months, mate. Which now that's a straight 5-year sentence.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, I was spent about 12 weeks away, and that was it. And no one noticed.
No one noticed. No one noticed. Because Burial was what, early 94, early to mid 94?
Yeah, and the thing about it, I like the V logo.
Yeah.
Right, I was in prison talking to Brian G on the phone because we needed a logo for Leviticus, and I said I wanted like a Versace head, but I wanted a black face. Do you know what I mean? So I'm describing it to Brian on the phone, right? And that's how the V head.
Yeah.
That's how we got the V head. A conversation with me and Brian G. I'm in prison, Brixton Prison, talking to him on the phone, and he's interpreted it and got an artwork guy. Then he's come to visit me. He goes, "Is this what you mean?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then after we started off, we used that for Leviticus, but then it's ended up being the logo for V. Because at first V was just a V.
I remember.
The V was just a V.
On the jazzy,
but
jazz thing.
We liked the logo so much, we made that logo V Recordings.
Yeah.
So the head you see now was something that me and Brian G devised. I'm in prison and Brian's on the phone and we're talking. I'm on the freeze talking to him on the prison phone, and we've come up with that head like that.
What was the record in the green label?
Fresh.
Tune.
Yeah. Fresh.
Yeah. Because V was so fresh. V was so fresh to the ears.
Yeah.
When it dropped, did you know that you had magic around you and Brian with?
Well, it's Brian. Brian was a driving force behind it. Brian worked at Rhythm King. Rhythm King went bust. Brian had these demos that he took with him when the company went into liquidation. Brian took and Brian called me, and Brian's like, "Look, listen to these guys." Brian was the driving force behind it all. I just was like, all right, and I just went with it, and I said, we do it together, and that was it. But Brian was the driving force behind it all.
Yeah, that again, that shows like the fascination in Brian's.
It's beautiful. And the other thing about it is like when I go going back to like me with all the guns and stuff and everything, is like being around Brian G and being around people like yourself, and it just made me lose interest in having firearms and having things, and just becoming just a normal person, and just developing, because I all my life I'd grown up in an environment where that was normal, but then having friends like yourself and being around Brian and stuff, it makes you not want to be like that anymore.
Yeah.
And you start changing your outlook on things, and you start meeting other people, and you realise that it's not normal to have a firearm. It's not normal to walk around like that.
Yeah.
And then, you know what I mean? And then your personality develops. But when you're young, growing up, that's all you know. Do you know what I mean? That's all you know. And then, so it's this rave scene has done so much for me, because it's opened up a whole life for me that I would never have had before. I've never been the person I've turned into now.
Yeah,
I can't believe that. I mean,
trust me, in the past year alone,
I don't know. I think it's the last 2 years.
It is, but
when I have not had a drink. I've been sober for 2.5 years ago. Right. Just under 2.5 years, I decided that I've had enough. I don't want to drink. I don't want to take drugs, anything.
Yeah.
And I went to a retreat. I've done therapy, 17 months of therapy. I went to retreats. I just worked on myself. Started doing Reiki and meditation, and it just changed my life. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what was? We're going to go back to the music, but do you know what was like a real? Me and Son, I don't think we'd seen you for maybe since the summer. Actually, when we see you at Demon Rockers fundraiser.
Yeah.
And we hadn't seen you since maybe the summer. No, maybe I went and DJed. No, I DJed for you.
Yeah.
But like in that year, in the past year, we just see so many like positive changes in you. Like we'd seen loads of positive changes since this.
Yeah.
But also, I'm sure you admit you also went back and come forward again.
Definitely.
But something that really would I was like. Just to digress from the music, because I've got more questions. Can I just say, I think we're going to go on way past the 2 hours, which we're happy with.
I'm cool.
We're broadcasting on underground bass as well. For those who are listening in the shout box, we'll stop that stream at 2:15 because Dark Phoenix is on, but we will continue this on YouTube because I'm loving this, mate. That 2 hours has nearly flown. But
wow.
do you know what really, really was like? Such a proud moment for me where I was like, because I know you're a PR man, like you love promoting your new clothes, your new brands, new things that you're doing. And when did you launch your alcohol brand?
Oh yeah, I launched that about 4 years ago.
Yeah, because I remember me and Song coming to the
launch.
She got her bottles and I just had to sniff it because I'm like 7.5 years without a drink. But a little while ago you did a post and you said, now I'm on this journey.
Because I've stopped selling it now.
Yeah, I can't sell this because...
It just didn't feel right. I couldn't, I don't drink anymore or anything.
Yeah.
So it didn't feel right me selling people alcohol.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, well, come on, it's only a business. But it just didn't feel right to me.
It doesn't work like that.
It just didn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
And my integrity wouldn't let me sell people alcohol, and I don't drink anymore. Yeah. And I just didn't feel right.
And that was like when I see that, when I see you put up, I was like, nah, he's gone even further now. He's gone even further because a few years ago when it was 35 years of Centreforce and we all did our shows up there and there were sponsors, they said, oh damn, like we got a sponsor, like it's an alcohol, will you stand in front holding the bottle? And like I said, I can't because I've not drunk for 7.5 years, but that doesn't mean that I'm not like behind what you're all doing, but I get it. Yeah. I get why you did that.
Because what it was, first of all, when I was still selling the drink, and I done really well off it.
Yeah,
I done really well off it.
Yeah,
and a little voice was saying, "This ain't right," but the voice got louder and louder.
Yeah,
and I think, but where I just started finding myself more and becoming this kind of new person that I've become. I did not expect the way I've turned out as a person. I didn't expect that. Yeah. I just wanted to give up smoke, give up taking drugs, give up drinking, and go on a bit of a healing thing.
Yeah.
So I've done therapy, and then the therapy opened me up, and I started finding out who I really am.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's when I thought, I don't want to do this drink no more. I don't. And everyone was like, "Are you crazy?" The distillery who I done the deal with were like, "Come on, you're walking away from a lot of money." I'm like, I don't care. It just didn't feel right. Didn't feel right to do it anymore. Just didn't feel right.
And that is why I'm proud of you. And I love you because
didn't feel right.
It's the same with music. It's the same with life. We're in a game where people don't actually have backbone when it comes to a pound note. Yeah. We've seen it time and time again. And
and I know it just didn't feel right. It's like a voice loudly was saying, you cannot sell this drink anymore. Yeah. Then it was loud. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was loud.
And trust me, I know, like, you're promoter-minded. You're like, and think whether you've had headsets, whether you've had clothing brands, whether you've had... Like
I've had it all. I've sold headphones,
books.
I've sold books. Like, I've sold drinks. Like, I own a clothing brand. Me and my business partner Gareth, and this is doing really well. Yeah, do you know what I mean? So,
and like you've got an energetic entrepreneurial brain, right? So there is like.
And I'm also now a party promoter. I never wanted to be a party. Yeah. I never wanted to be a promoter. But I've ended up being a promoter.
We'll get onto that in a bit. But yeah, so when I see that, knowing you and knowing that entrepreneurial, energetic brain of like, bam, this is all good for one, what I do, and two, like you say, you was making dough out of it, and you was like, no. So yeah, that was when I was like, yeah, he is. This is an even newer Nigel out of all the Nigels that we know. Like, this is like that was a big moment for you.
I changed most of my friends. A lot of things I had to change. I had to get rid of a lot of people from my life. I had to look at myself. I've hurt people. Yeah, I've hurt people. I've let people down. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, I've tried to make amends where I can. Sometimes it hasn't been possible. I've apologized. Yeah. And do you know what I mean? And I'm still on a healing journey now. And I hope that me helping other people can go some kind of way of making a difference. Yeah, you know?
Mate, there's so much to learn from you, and we're not finishing now. We can't. We're going to keep going until we have to. I'm going to turn off the stream from Underground Bass.
I'm going to go and have a waz, and I'll be back in a second.
Do you need to go for a need to go for a toilet?
I'll have a quick one.
You go toilet. I'm all right.
You can go waffle on.
I'll waffle on to the people. You go.
1 second.
You go toilet, because this is originally it was a 2-hour. Podcast, and literally we've only got up to drum and bass here, and I've got so many questions about drum and bass. There's so many questions to ask Nigel about how huge drum and bass become worldwide. There was also the whole once the old school scene become huge again and a thing. So there's a lot for me and this man to talk about. I want us to touch on the mental health stuff, the depression. There's a lot to talk to Nigel about. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this new podcast completely live and in the moment is I believe that the more live that I make this with my friends, the more unedited I make this with my friends, is the realer it is. So there is no editing and making it all polished and making it super high end. For me, this is people who have sat in this music room with me many times, sat around the dinner table in the house. I've been around the world with. I've, in Nigel's case, got him to bear all in his book. So it's incredibly important for me to have this podcast completely and utterly raw and uncut. And last week we had DJ Vibes. This week we've got Jumpin Jack Frost. I'm hoping he comes back quick. I can hear him talking in the other room, so as I can pose to him his next question. But it was really important for me to have Vibes last week and Frost this week. Next week we've got Mad P from Top Buzz, who's got an incredible story. And yeah, my friends have done absolutely amazing things with their life, both musically and personally. And I guess that is what this is all about, to basically show. I can hear him in the garden now. So you might have to put up with me waffling for quite some time until he comes back. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll get loads of these shout outs done. Out to Origin Unknown, who's saying they're enjoying the stories. Out to Nicholas Parsons, who's saying Mad P, awesome, not missing that. Out to JS, who's mentioning Boomtown there. Out to Mickey T. Out to Mike STM saying fair play, Billy. Out to JC Technicum, say keep going until you're out of steam. Out to Fat Controller, wow, who says Burial was pressed in the same plant on the same day as Incomplete Darkness, and he says useless facts of the day. That is an incredible piece of info. Oh right, he's doing his own video at the moment. Out to go on, mate.
We are live.
We're very live.
We are live.
And very, 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 very direct. So you ready for your next question?
I'm ready.
Right. So I heard you talking to the Sozonator out there.
Oh, what was we saying?
Yeah. Well, you was probably slacking me.
No, what I was saying, because I went outside for a thing,
right,
and then I said, you know what, he's not going to miss me. He could talk for ages when he doesn't even need me, right? And then we said that I could probably say I'll be back in a minute and leave you for an hour, and you still be giving it, you still be waffling.
Well, I did. I started running out of steam.
Nah,
right.
In a bubble, mate. Never.
Listen to me. When did you realise that drum and bass was huge? And did you ever visage that? Because right, Nigel, I'm going to tell you my thought process.
Go on.
Right, house is just like universal, right?
Yeah.
And drum and bass was born out of the hardcore, the jungle, then the drum and bass. And I just feel that drum and bass as a movement, as a sound of all of its offshoots and styles is like house is universal, but drum and bass is also universal. Maybe not as big with the sheer amount of music, but drum and bass is culturally and musically it has stood forever.
What you have to remember, drum and bass is the first music that was made in the UK that was exported to the world. Everything else was imported in.
Yep.
House was imported in.
Yep.
Right. Rave, all the rave stuff was imported in.
Yep.
Right. But we made jungle here.
Yep.
Yeah. It started with hardcore. Right. And that was, remember, we got the influence.
Even hardcore took from Europe.
Yeah, but we made our own interpretation of it. Do you know what I mean? But jungle drum and bass was born out of that and exported to the world in a major way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's really special because it was born here. And you know what I mean? It was born here and it was born and created here and it was embraced by the world and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it is like I'm playing records from all over the world, from producers from all over the world. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it's a juggernaut, you know?
Yeah. Something that I've like when I talk to drum and bass DJs and drum and bass producers, whether that's the young ones coming through, whether that's sitting here with you now, would I be correct in saying that drum and bass is it is bigger now than it's ever been?
I think so.
Because from a fan of the music and someone who studies all music, that's how I see it.
You've got it on TV adverts. You've got it in movies. You got Rupert Parks, Photek, lives in Los Angeles, has done for the last 20 years, doing movie soundtracks.
Yeah.
Photek has done about 40 movie soundtracks for major blockbuster Hollywood movies. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, of course. And then you have them huge, like, just in the UK, like, you're worried about Henry's and...
Massive.
They're huge.
Massive.
And when, like... people say, oh, it weren't like that back in our day.
Listen, stop all that. Stop your nonsense.
I cannot.
Stop your nonsense. Yeah. Let the thing grow. Yeah. I want to send a big shout out to all the worried about Henry crew. Massive shout out to my boy Wilf, because I love Wilf. Wilf, I love you, bro.
Fan of the music. He's a fan
of
the
love
history.
Wilf. Big shout out to my brother Wilf, man. Yeah. Love him. Big shout out to D&B All Stars as well. I love those guys.
Yeah. I said, mate, I'm an old school heritage house rave DJ, but I still play lots of new hardcore and jungle and acid, right? But when I look in as a fan...
Bruv, listen to me. I've got about 45 of your tunes and I'll play a whole set of it.
Yeah.
You and Jay Folly, right? Fat Controller, I could play a whole set of your tunes back to back, right? And I love them. Sometimes I've got to slow them down a little bit, do you know what I mean, for my thing, but I love them.
I'm just going to give you a useless... Well, it's not useless. I'm only saying it's useless because it's Jay Foley. He said...
You too. Oh, my God.
He just writ in the chat there that...
did you see that thing you done of yesterday of me and you? Yeah, Jay, I'm going to... No, it's funny that was.
Right. He said, In Complete Darkness, his tune, and Leviticus Burial were pressed on the same day in the same pressing plant. How mad's that?
Where's that then? Up in it's got to be on the North Circular.
Wherever
it's got to be the North Bobsy. It's got to be Bobsy's.
Wherever it is,
Bobsy and Carmelita on the North Circular. It's got to be.
But Nigel,
probably
we said it earlier about DJs who think. There's an elitism in the world of DJing where people kind of like...
Get off your high horse.
Yeah, people kind of have their perception of what a DJ is, but DJing, when it's a while, there's no right or wrong way. You've got your outgoing, you've got your serious people, and there's no wrong or right way. And
you know what though? Why I want to know, why does everyone put their hand in the air like this, and everyone just does this little thing when they go like that in the air? It just does my nut a little bit. What
they go?
I don't know what it is, but they got this little thing now with it. I'm like, drop me the hell out, man. How can everyone do the same bloody thing? And all of a sudden, everyone's got the same moustache as well. What's going on? What's going on with the moustaches?
Yeah, but you know me. I like to go on in a 3-piece pink summer outfit. Get out the front of the stage.
Oi, don't get a fat controller started on you. No. Don't get him started.
Right, listen to
Jay, don't. He's gonna get you.
He will get me.
He's gonna get you.
But yeah, I don't. Believe in this. It was better back in the day. And
listen, I'm having none of it. Just let everything just go as it is. Do you know what I mean? Don't start when we were doing it. Stop all that business. Stop all that nonsense.
I'm
just,
not with
just
that.
Let everyone get on with it. Just let people be. Be in your era. Let people enjoy it. Let people enjoy their time. Do you know what I mean? Let people enjoy their time. Let people enjoy their moment. Let people enjoy it. And you know what I don't like as well? People slagging off. If you don't like a record, don't listen to it.
Yeah.
Just let people get on with what they... Do you know how much work goes into making a record?
Of course.
Let people enjoy their moment. Yeah. Stop being cruel. Be kind.
Yeah.
If you don't like a record, you don't have to listen to it, man. Simple.
Because music is like... reflects so many personalities, so many vibes, so many tempos. Yep. We've come through so many different things, and do you know what? I do look in sometimes on the internet, and I do look in on the whole like it should be like this. He shouldn't be as famous as they become. That girl's only there because she's pretty, and this one. No,
leave people alone, man.
Let people.
Do you know how hard it is? How hard it is to stand up in front of a room of 1,000 people or even 100 people and play music. Just stop being so cruel. Do you know what I mean? Stop being so cruel. Do you know what I mean? If you don't like it, fine. Yeah. But just let people be. Let people... But do you know how many people's lives get saved because they've got a career in music?
Yeah.
Just leave people alone. If you haven't got the balls to get up there and do it, just shut up. Please.
And that nails it, because I see... do you know what hurts me the most? I don't even know why it hurts me, but I guess really because my daughter's out DJing and I've seen the hate she gets from like 50 to 60-year-old men, right? But what hurts me is when I see other artists or people who should know better berating or bringing down other people who have become famous quickly.
It's horrible.
Or they don't like the way that person's DJing.
It's horrible.
And I don't get that, Nigel. Because if you're a success in your own skin, or if you're happy with what you've done, if you're content with what you've done, no one else's success will ever bother you. It will inspire you.
Just let people be. I'll tell you what, I enjoy playing music so much more now, where I haven't got that monkey on my back, and I'm just the person that without drugs and I'm the person that I've become now. I enjoy playing music.
Yeah.
I enjoy being around the younger ones playing music. I enjoy it. Last year, my mum died last year. What happened? My mum was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and I had to sit with my mum every day for 8 months.
Yeah.
And just look after her, and every day watched her go like this. And while that was happening, I was out still smiling to everyone. Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
And no one knew what I was going through. And then she died, and I've just discovered a new love
Yeah.
for life. Do you know what I mean? Just in love and kindness and just being more compassionate
Yeah.
and having more empathy for people. And it's so beautiful. Just let people
Let
be,
people
man.
be.
Let people be. Let people live, you know?
Yeah. Last year when my dad passed,
I remember.
yeah, I was because remember we was all at Unity and,
Yeah,
and me
I
and
remember,
Sonia had
I
to
remember,
leave
I remember.
Corfu early, get flights back.
I remember.
And I was with my dad till
And at that same time, I was looking after my mum around the same time.
And I was with my dad till his very last breath.
Same thing.
His very
Same.
last breath, and it changed my perception, and it changed me. And like because I've always believed that I'm a positive person, right? But we get. Life happens, right? Life happens.
It's the hardest thing ever.
Right, and when my I was with my dad, it was me and my mum with my dad, and he took his last breath, and that was the point in which I thought all of the people who have it would concern me that they've backstabbed me or used me for my energy, or I've done so much for them and they've not given nothing back. All the things that kind of like bothered me. Didn't bother me no more.
No, they won't.
It didn't bother me.
It pales into significance.
Into people and their pettiness and their jealousy.
It
pales
matters.
into insignificance.
Exactly.
And then it kind of like, and then I thought to myself how my dad was prouder of me than I was ever proud of me.
Same thing with my mum.
Right? I took for granted
Same thing.
everything that I'd done. Like I took for
I
granted.
remember meeting your dad. He was,
Yeah.
he loved you. He was so like.
Yeah, I took for granted all of my successes, but my dad never.
Oh, my mum's got clip-ins and all.
Yeah, my dad has
You know
got
the thing
so
about
much.
it? After my mum died,
Yeah.
right? And we got to look through her possessions. I
Yeah.
opened the drawer and I was like, oh,
What?
magazines, all little things of. And I spoke to her friends at work, said, oh, your mum was so proud of
Yeah.
you. And I thought, and you know what? What is the most beautiful thing is that she died seeing how I turned my life around.
Yeah,
and the
amazing.
person I'd become.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And she's just so happy to see. She passed away knowing that I've become a better person, that she didn't have to worry anymore about me because I'm all right now. Do you know what I mean? And it's just beautiful. They were so proud of us.
Yeah, that is the thing that what we have taken for granted in our successes because we just do it. We just do it, and that sort of like energy to just keep on going. And sometimes you don't like.
Doesn't it give you that determine that thing? Like, all right, I'm going to carry on going for me.
Right, so that's it.
That's what happens, doesn't it?
Yeah. So what I did was, like how I've been with like. Here is the thing with me, Sonia will tell you, like. I DJ every weekend of my life, but trust me when I tell you, I knock back half of my bookings because Sonia will go through it with me, and I go, I don't want to do that. I don't. And then, like, if you think when we released your book 8 years ago, I was always good with my internet, and then like I might only post in recent years once or twice a week and stuff. Then all of a sudden, when my dad went and I got over it, all of a sudden that's when I started like onslaughting and going to Son. Nah.
Mate,
every booking,
listen, I went because
let's go. Like I was like, my dad was proud of me beyond I could imagine, and then that's when like I started going, telling all my thought processes of like records, history, and sharing stuff about my friends that other people didn't know, or sharing tunes.
Do you know what happened as well? I'll
Yeah.
tell you what happened as well, right? Because when my mum got ill, it's like. I was meant to go on tour with Brian. We was meant to go to Australia, Asia, Japan. And I said, no, I'm not going. And my mum was like, go. I said, no way am I going.
Yeah.
I'm going to spend every minute with you.
Yeah.
So all last year I turned down so many bookings because I just didn't. I came to Unity.
Yeah,
I remember coming to Unity
yeah.
because my sister said, you need to get away. You need to go away. So I went away to Unity for a few days. Do you know what I mean? It was good for my mental health to get away for a bit. But I swear to God, after my mum went, I was like an animal. And what happened just before she got ill, me and Gareth decided we're going to start this clothing brand. Do you know what I mean? And I sat with my mum a lot of the time, showing her designs. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? And got her involved in it. Do you know what I mean? I got her involved, and God bless my business partner, Gareth. He's such a great man.
Yeah.
He was just supporting me all the way. Yeah, man. Like one of the collections, my mum named it.
Right.
We got see the collection with all the black sheep written all over it. My mum named it after. I said, Mum, Gareth said, ask your mum to name this collection. Yeah, he said, let's name it after something that is significant to her growing up. So I said, Mum, name an area in Guyana, where we're from, in South America, what is significant to your growing up. And she said, and I said, here's a design, and we spoke about it, and she looked at it, she said, Border Market, right? So we called it the Border Collection. So I involved my mum, you know what I mean? Good. I got her involved while she was dying. So it was nice to have her involved, and now she's gone, that's always there.
Yeah, always.
Do you know what I mean? And it's given me, I've just driven me on to say, all right then, I'm going to start doing promoting us, Brixton Bass, and then start doing everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because you want to leave an even stronger legacy than you've already done.
Exactly. It's just turned me into, I'm like, you know what? And because I don't drink or anything anymore, your productivity levels go through the roof. Because I'm up early in the morning, as you know, yeah, and all my staff know that, because all the people that work for me get phone calls at 6 o'clock in the morning, sometimes at 6:30. I said, what are we going to do today?
Well, that's what it's all about. But what's mad in this situation, right, is that we have legacies that go back so far, and we celebrate them. How can we not celebrate pivotal musical moments in time? And we all play on the legacy scenes, and so much of our audiences, the audiences of my pages are my age and up, right? And like, I celebrate this music, I celebrate this thing. But the mad thing is, in a kind of ironic way, is that all of this stuff is behind. The memories are what are important, but our successes they're done. They're done. But what do we now do?
What do you do now?
And that's.
Do you know what? I got one thing that was really, really hurts me, because during lockdown I got myself into such a state. I was getting on it at home on my own. I was just bang on it. When lockdown finished, I came out and I was a complete mess. I was a mess, mate. After lockdown, the first 6 months, I was out, not turning up to gigs, turning up out my nut. I was a complete mess. I look back now and I think, I never done myself no favours then.
I remember.
Do you know what I mean? I was an absolute mess.
Yeah.
And I think I ended up in hospital. Do you know what I mean? And I had to just say, you know what? I start making decisions about my life and just say, I've got to switch things around.
What do you think, right? Because I'm going to go back to a period. Now, do you know what? We're gonna start this period because it'll feed into what you just said there. So I remember late 97, 98, you know, when it was like the multi-arena raves where we'd all cross over and see each other, and you was like with the drum and bass, with what you was doing with Planet V, touring the world, you was like larger than life, like larger than life. But I also know that was like a real turning point.
I was snorting. I was snorting cocaine. I was just not myself. I wasn't the person I am.
Now you're not. You.
Do you know what I mean? I was just a very dark energy around me.
Yeah.
All my people around me were the same. And that's not the person I am. You know, it's not the person I am.
And I remember, and then I kind of remember, you may or may not remember this, but I had, because the old school nights had always been there. Like, we'd always all done like old school nights, but like late 90s, early 2000s, it become a thing, didn't it? Like old school, back to 95, back to 89, back to this, back to that. And I hadn't seen you for a little while, and then it was a Camden Palace event, and out of nowhere you were like, it's me, Frosty, and you said, I've just been like low key. I've been out a little while.
I think I might have come out of rehab.
Yeah, and you.
Because I was in rehab. I took a year off.
I remember. I was
just lost it. Yeah, just lost the plot.
What do you think it is that makes you have such this surging energy for your music and like that right, I'm gonna come out and we got big records, big DJ sets, big. But then on the flip of that is like, whether it's drug taking, drinking, through those periods, what you do that in just as big as your success is.
I think really people that really know me, the real me, especially now, I'm a very shy person. And I'm quite reserved and quite quiet as well.
You're sensitive because we had a sensitive situation.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I'm quiet, laid back. And the drugs and stuff, it gives you a persona that's not really real,
Yeah.
That's why, like now, I can't even have people around me. Like, I can't have a girlfriend that drinks or anything like that.
Yeah.
I can't have anyone around me, close friends, who drink or can take drugs. I cannot have anyone like that around me. Firstly, it's not good to have them around me. Yeah. Secondly, it annoys me.
Right.
Anyone if you live like that, it just annoys me.
Yeah.
And it's just such, because I was the worst.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I was the worst.
Do you think you see yourself?
Yeah. And I just think to myself, it's just, I just look back and I think, oh my God. Do you know what I mean? Like now, I like myself so much. I get on with people much better now. Everything is just so much better.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I cannot be wrapped around people that live like that. I just can't do it. I just cannot have people like that around me at all.
And that's an age thing growing up. And
I just can't do it.
Trust me, he is sensitive, right? So every Unity in the Sun, he's on. He's on, right? I'm gonna this is such a minor. This situation is such a minor. For me, I can put it. Tell me if I'm out of turn here. I can put you on a flyer and you wouldn't get the hump with me if I put you on. Right? I can put him on Unity in the Sun and he ain't getting the hump with me because he knows, boom, he's out there. He's part of the furniture. He has a break as well, right? So I hadn't launched all of my lineup yet, and he put his gig guide out, and I said, son, Nigel ain't put us on, right? And she went, have you told him he's on? And I'm like, I don't need to tell him. He knows he's on. He knows, it's just a given. But in that moment, it wasn't a given. Like
for me, it'll be arrogant of me to take it for granted that I'm not there.
Yeah.
What if you wanted to give me a break this year? What if you thought maybe give him a break this year? And how dare I take it for granted? Oh, I'm going to be playing there. That is so arrogant. And it's just not for me to be like that. Like, no one's said to me, you're there.
Yeah.
So what am I going to do? Put myself down? It's like, that's not for me.
But
someone who does that ain't for me either.
But you think about that. That's just me being me. And
I love that because I love that you look at me that way as part of the furniture. Right, but for me to do that, just taking it for granted that I'm going to put myself down on the thing that no one's spoken to me about. No,
yeah.
that's
I think we
me.
probably did speak about it at some point.
No.
But anyway, when I said to him, right, Jay's sorting out your flights, you was emotional about that. He was like, and I was like, and it took me aback. So when he says, because you felt sensitive about that, you honestly thought it.
I love it, man. I love coming out there. Do you know what I mean? I love coming out there, especially in the later years. Especially now, this year, it's been nice because I can sit down with my friend Jane, because me and Jane always meet for breakfast in the morning.
Yeah.
She hasn't been for the last couple of years. She's going this year. And I was like, I love sitting down. Jane is one of my close people. And I love sitting with her. And she's going, you going to uni? I was like, I'm not sure. She's like, what? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Mental health and depression.
Yeah.
And it's something that's close to my heart. When my nephew took his life, he hung himself, which sent me on a road to founding a mental health charity that's 5 years down the line now, fully registered, an amazing team. Other than the inception of it, I can't take any credit for that 5 years other than being a volunteer fundraiser. It was something that was born out of my radio show and my energy, but an amazing team have continued that on. Why is talking about depression and mental health so important to you?
I suffered massively, even now with anxiety. I can overthink myself into a right state. Do you know what I mean? Even now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I went to therapy, has helped me to recognise my triggers.
Yep.
And I learned what I got the tools now to talk myself out of situations.
Yeah.
Taking a lot of drugs didn't help. Do you know what I mean? And I felt to myself, someone in my position could use my voice to help other people, and I've done that consistently. Do you know what I mean? I'm also a patron and a ambassador for We Are Hummingbird, which is a mental health charity for suicide prevention. I'm also a trained suicide prevention and first aider. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I took all my first aiding
do you know
course
what I mean?
for that.
So it's something that I'm passionate about, and I do talks.
Yeah.
I do quite a lot of talks still now. If people ask me to go to events and something, that I always find time to do a few a year to talk to people, and I just I get a lot of pleasure out of helping other people to overcome their anxiety and stuff like that. And I like putting people together. Like I might not be able to help you, but I know someone who can.
Yeah,
you know?
that's
and
important.
It's something that I get a lot of pleasure out of just privately for myself.
Was it hard for you at first to speak so openly? When did you first feel that you could speak openly about mental health, depression?
Well, listen, I had a breakdown. I ended up in hospital. Right, I fainted and I had a breakdown. Ended up in hospital. Had like a psychotic episode.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And I thought, I'm not going to make it back from this. Do you know what I mean? And it was instant. Because I was just said, I need to tell people about this. I need to talk about it. Do you know what I mean?
This was COVID times.
Just after COVID.
Yeah.
Just after COVID. Do you know what I mean? And I had a proper psychotic episode. Do you know what I mean? And then I decided I had to change my life. And it took a couple of attempts. And in the end, boom, I got it.
You're here. Yeah, because it's mad, isn't it? Like, you say you still get depression and...
Well, I know now how to stop it.
Yeah.
How to go and just kind of talk myself out of it. And you know what I mean? Because of the therapy, 17 months of therapy has helped me to learn about my inner child. Because you have to learn about your triggers. You have to learn what makes you do that. There's no point, what makes you do that? Why do you do this?
Yeah.
Why? There's reasons behind it. And when you get to the bottom of the reasons why, then you can stop it.
Yeah, because with you, with like how big, bold you've been over the years, people would never have thought that.
Well, there you go. You know what I mean? It happens, man. And I'm really happy that people can look and think that, because they think, well, maybe I'm not so strange after all.
Yeah.
Maybe, if Frosty Girls go through that, then maybe it's not so strange.
Yeah.
Then maybe I can go and talk to someone as well.
Are you proud of your charity work?
Very proud of it.
Yeah.
And I don't really talk about a lot of it that I do. Do you know what I mean?
A
lot of it I do. It's a very private thing for me.
Yeah.
It's not something I do that and I do that, I do that, but I'm very proud of the things that I do. Yeah. Yeah,
for me, like, and I guess really I've never really spoke about our charity in this way. But for me, it's like, it's something that's 5 years down the line. And the only time I talk about it is because my role within it, even though I'm the founder and a trustee on a board of, like, the trustees are amazing. Mark Ecstasy's one of the trustees. Yeah. Jeff's one of the trustees. Yep. Jeff's a really good friend of mine from school who Nigel's got to know well over the years. But I love Jeff. But it's like, it's just one of them things. I don't discuss what we do.
It's a very private thing.
Because it's there for people. It's there for other people to...
Mark Ecstasy is a perfect person to have on board.
Of course
as well,
he is, yeah. Yeah, Mark's perfect. And like the best thing for me is if like our phone lines are open in the evening and the team will get an email and someone will say, you really did save my life in that moment.
How good is that?
Yeah.
How good is that you can go to sleep at night knowing that you've helped, that you saved someone's life?
Yeah.
And then, just a chain of reaction of events, something you've set up, because we leave it to the really clever people to actually do the work.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But how beautiful is that?
100%. And charity is funny because people think that you're doing it for an ulterior motive, and we're really not. We do it because this music has been good to us, and it gave us an amazing life and a voice piece, and we've lived through bad things in the parallel universe of
Exactly,
our lives.
exactly.
So we can. When I was talking to someone about this earlier, when we had the charity commissions interviewed me and the team a lot, to decide whether we was going to get, to educate us on how to run a charity, how it runs. And I said to them, I've written a book that's named after an ecstasy tablet. Like, I've done silly things on the internet. It's not. I'm not like the perfect down the line
candidate, though.
Do you know what they said?
Perfect candidate.
That's exactly what they said.
Perfect candidate. Lived experience.
Yeah.
You can't beat lived experience.
Yeah.
You can't have people making massive decisions that have always just sat up there right with a pen and on a computer.
Yeah.
You need people with lived experience to deal with real people that are living.
Exactly. Your album, right? We're
Wow.
going right forward.
I loved it. Go on.
Right, we're going right forward now because I've kind of I feel like I've been through the chronological years of Ray 88 Acid to the height of drum and bass. We've touched on old school a little bit because that's been a scene within itself. It's gonna happen. He's gonna tell we can't not have a conversation without you talking about a gun or a hand grenade or prison because it runs.
It's my past. It's my past.
It runs
it's like,
parallel with
it's my
this.
past. It's like it's my past.
Yeah,
man.
with this.
It's
music.
my part of my life, and you can't. Without you can't erase the past. Otherwise, it's your life. It's what made you what you are.
But you're far better, and you've learned far more. From it.
I wouldn't change a thing about my life. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
No.
The album.
Wow, nearly finished. Nearly done. Nearly finished, man. The album's nearly done. It is something that I'm so proud of. Some of the artists that are featured on the album, I've got like KC from Jodeci on there. KC from Jodeci, Omar, Michelle John, Terry Walker. It's crazy. Do you know what I mean? And there's a couple of features that I'm working on now as well, and we'll be tied up probably by June. I'm looking for a late summer release.
Will V release that or no?
It's not going to be. It's a multi-genre album.
Right. Okay.
So it's going to be.
It's got all vibes.
Yeah, it's got all vibes. I think we're looking at my manager Hannah. Big shout to Hannah. She is trying to place it somewhere. Trying to find a good home for it at the moment. We've got a few options.
Bush Doctor. What's the Bush Doctor release?
Well, that's.
I love Bush Doctor, by the way.
Listen, I love those guys.
Them guys.
And that's going to be that tune's going to be on the album. So. They wanted to do a collaboration with me because they're like, when you meet some people and
they're good people, mate.
Good people.
Yeah.
Big shout out to all the Bush Doctor family. I love you guys. So I went down to Nottingham and I recorded with them with a fantastic singer called Aziza J. She's just amazing. And we got this record, man. It's coming out on the 21st of May. It's a proper jungle.
Record? Are you cutting it to record?
Well, no, it's just, when I say a
record, you mean a track? I got excited there. You come into my living room, you see the amount of records I've been sent today.
We might do a limited edition run, do you know what I mean? But this is going to be on the album as well. It's like a proper old school jungle vibe, but amen break shit. And, do you know what I mean? And that's going to be included on the album as well. So, as I said, after Mum died, I just got so busy. I just threw myself into work.
Yeah, good.
Studio, this, that, and the album's like almost done because I was just worked. Gigs, clothing brand, this, that, and it's just worked relentlessly. And because I don't drink or anything anymore, I'm so super focused and I use my hours in the day.
Yeah.
Just for what they're meant to be. Do you know what I mean? There's no recovery time or nothing because I'm up and I'm at it. I do the gym in the morning. Yeah. Every morning I'm at the gym.
You put the guilt on me last week.
Yes, I did.
You put right? See this geezer here, right? And do you know what he did to me the other week? It was Sunday morning. And I thought I was kind of like waffling off and making my life sound hard. Like, yeah, Nigel, I got in at 2 this morning. I was back up my normal time at 6. I've not been to the gym. What? I got in at 3. I'm in the gym now. How could you even say this to me? And do you know what I did? I was on the sofa.
He was on the sofa.
I had my dressing gown on.
I video called him.
Right, and I put my hood up on my dressing gown. Did him one last video of saying, right, you go and enjoy the gym, and then I turned my phone off because I thought, and then he was sending me videos of him in the gym and all that, and I thought, how can you do this to me? Like I was on the sofa knackered, mate.
I love that day.
You think it's funny, mate? Like I had guilt on me all day long.
It was like, I got in at 3 o'clock in the morning.
2, you got in at 3.
Listen, I got in at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Listen.
Oh, that was classic. I loved it.
See what I mean? Promoting. You're a promoter now.
Mate, I swear to God.
Tell me how you find promoting. Because this year is mine and Son's 29th year unbroken, every year of our life promoting.
Mate.
How are you finding stepping into mine and Son's world?
I'll tell you what, right? I'm very lucky because I've been pretty successful at it. Do you know what I mean? And I think I've got a good team with me that will help me a lot. If I was left to my own devices, I don't think it will be as. If I was just left to my own devices, I don't think it would be as successful as it has been.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I've got such a great team, especially Lucia, who has been like my assistant, and I love her. She tried to leave. She tried to leave a few months ago, and I've just grabbed her back again.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm only joking. No, I started Brixton Base after lockdown because I was so frustrated.
Yeah.
Right, and it started off as a sit down party, and they're like, everyone's got to sit down.
I remember them.
I remember them. Everyone's got to sit down, and I thought, all right, then I'll do a couple of them, and it went well. And then after, the people they were like, do you want to just carry this on? And I was like, okay. And then Brixton Base was born. Do you know what I mean? And it's just been it's been a joy to have something that's gone so well and so loved. I had one on Saturday, and it's just. I love
that venue you're with.
Yeah, Hootenanny. It's just so good in there, and the people that I work with make it good.
Yeah,
the people that I work with, if it was just me, it wouldn't be as good as it is.
What's the other night you've got? So you've got Euphoria,
I've got
Brixton Base.
I've got Brixton Base. I've got Portobello, because what I do the same format.
Yeah.
At Portobello Road now.
Yeah.
At a club called Under.
Right.
So I've got Brixton Base at Hootenanny.
Yep.
I've got Portobello Base at Under.
Right.
And I've just started a new night called Rollerball, which is in East. So I've got South, West, and East.
Right.
So I'm going to be rotating.
So your team needs to be on point for that.
They are on point.
Good.
They are on point.
Good.
They are on point. Brixton Base is always sold out. I've had 2 Portobellos. The last one I wasn't there because I was in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Right. I was in Hawaii working, but it was packed. And Rollerball starts in August. Do you know what I mean? And I've got 3 boat parties this year as well.
Where are your favourite places to play in the world?
God, I'll tell you something. One of the most special moments ever was I played in the rainforest in Puerto Rico, yeah? Up in the rainforest, like right up in the mountains. And I played, Messiah.
Yeah.
I played Messiah, and when the Messiah came on, it started raining. And it was like a spiritual moment.
Yeah.
And everyone just stood in the rain. And the rain came down in the rainforest. And it was like, it was just, I felt it. I just felt it. And all the goosebumps on my arms stood up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was a special moment. You don't get to play in the rainforest, bruv, every day. Right up in the mountains. And Coca Rico in Rimini is one of my favourite places I've ever played, ever. Everywhere else, if you ask me that, it's depends how I feel on the day, what my answer's going to be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because you've been so many places.
Yeah. From
seeing the Berlin Wall being knocked down.
Yeah. You know what was crazy as well? Like, I remember playing a gig. I played a gig on September the 10th, 2001 in New York City. Yeah, September the 10th.
Wow.
I played New York City, and the next morning I'm meant to fly to Denver for the next leg of the tour. I've opened the window, bosh, 9/11. I'm stuck in New York. With all the ash, everything, and I'm run, and they're like, everyone evacuate the hotel, and I've got to pick up my that time we saw the record boxes.
Yep.
And I've got to pick up my record. They're like, leave everything. I'm not leaving my record box, but because I'm in the middle of it, I didn't know. I thought it was a war because you don't know. All I know is they said the Americans are under attack. I'm like, wow. Everyone's evacuate the hotel. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like 40 blocks away from the World Trade Center. It is mayhem in Manhattan. Do you know what I mean? Smoke, and you can smell the burning. And I'm just woken up like this. I had a girl in my room.
Right.
I've had a girl in my room, and she's left about 2 hours before, so I've not had much sleep. Do you know what I mean? And I've got up like this now, and I'm like, open the door. Wait. I'm like, what's going on? I've opened the curtains. Ooh, smoke, everything. I'm like, turn the TV on. The World Trade Center's on fire. I'm like, oh my God. My whole world turned upside down.
Yeah.
So I've had to evacuate the hotel. So, and I've got my record box and a bag, this big Louis Vuitton bag, like a sailor bag, and I put it over there, and I got my record box, and I've left from Manhattan, ended up in Canal Street, which is Chinatown. I've had to find an old, like dirty, like B&B, and there's plot up. Get that? Yeah. There's a plot up in there. I've got no flight to Denver. All flights are cancelled. All the phone lines are down. I'm stuck in New York.
Wow.
Crazy, brother.
You've got stories.
Yes, mate.
Like for me, mayhem just surrounds you personally.
It just follows me, bro.
Life changing
situations. It was so thing. Cause my mum was so worried. I remember her saying, my mum, she called the Foreign Office, and there was someone called Nigel Thompson missing. Because my mum said, she's like, I'm looking for. She said, there's someone called Nigel Thompson missing. Because all the phone lines are down. You can't get through to anyone's phone in New York. Yeah, it was like, that was crazy. I was stuck there for 4 days after. I don't know how I got a flight out. I was constantly on the phone trying to get a flight out, and I don't know how I got one of the first flights out. I don't know how I done it, and I done it without having usually I need an assistant or something to get me even a flight. I've never even booked a flight on my own, so I don't know how I got myself from that flight out of there.
We know this because we sent Sonia in a taxi to bring you back here. we know Nigel. We know Nigel too well.
I'll tell you something. I've never even hung a wallpaper in my life.
Right.
I've never even changed a plug. I've never changed a plug in my whole life.
That probably makes both of us, to be fair.
Yeah, I've never changed a plug. I don't even know how to wire up the decks.
You know how to.
I have not got to. Listen to me.
Tell me that.
Ask Brian. I have no clue how to wire up the decks. I got no clue how to do nothing like that. Nothing to do with like hanging wallpapers, wiring things up. I've got no clue, mate. Yeah. Nothing.
Before we wrap up, I've just got a few questions for you, right? Do you see yourself as an entrepreneur?
Nah, I don't. No. I see myself as what's on today. Yeah. What's it today?
Yeah.
I think if you look at yourself as an entrepreneur, you're giving it a large.
Yeah.
I think what's on today, I let other people make the judgment of what I am. It's not for me. I reserve judgment on anything I do. Yeah. I let other people say, well, you're this or you're that. I just say, all right, thank you. And that's it.
Because you're really, really good at being in the thick of so many things. And for me, like over the years, entrepreneurialism and all that is like a buzzword.
A lot of cliche thing.
But I think for me,
I just got that. Is that what it is today? All right, bam, bam, bam. If that's what it is, cool.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not for me to say that about myself.
For me, this is our way of life, and that's why we end up promoting, making music, touring to other countries, DJing up and down the UK. Like none of it is by design. None of it's like, I'm gonna have a clothing brand now. It's part of your vibe. I'm gonna do a tour here. It's part of your vibe.
That's it.
Like it's all just built on vibes. What would your advice be to either up and coming DJs or just DJs who have
don't listen to no one? Do not let people stop you. Do not let people get you down. All this stuff now, you can be doing that. Just do what you want to do. Yeah. Do what you want to do. Whatever you feel right with. Don't let anyone, especially, don't look online and let, but you got so many people, you put something up, everyone's got an opinion. Everyone's got an opinion of why you shouldn't do this or why you shouldn't do that. Do what you want to do. Yeah. That's it. Done. Do what you want to do. Be you. Yeah. Be powerful. Be strong. Be you. Don't be someone else. Don't listen to people's opinions. Oh, you shouldn't be doing that. Do what you want to do, bro.
The you of now, you now, what would you say to your younger self?
Thank God, be good, and be grateful.
Yeah.
Because I'm very, very... Every morning I do my gym and then I listen to Joyce Mayer. I listen to Joyce. She's one of the most important people in my life. And it helped me to get closer to God. And God is so important to me now. I'm so grateful to God. And I just try to live my life the best way I can. I try to be kind. I try to be helpful. I try to have empathy for people. And I just know that everything that, we're nothing. We are nothing in the grand scheme of things. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? God is everything, and God can give and God can take away.
What does the future hold?
The future holds
for
me.
What do you see in your vision?
Just being me and just trying to be the best I can every day. Trying to be the best version of myself I can every day. Every day I just try to be the best version of as a person.
Yeah.
I try to be a good person. I try to be a good person, I haven't always been a good person, but I try my best now to be a good person. Yeah. That's
Brilliant.
important. It's more important to be a good person than this persona of Jumpin Jack Frost, blah, blah. It's important to be a good person, and to have integrity and to stick by your word and do what you say you're going to do. It's very important to me.
I started off by saying I love you.
I love ya!
And I'm going to end by saying I love you. And
I love you, man.
I love you.
Come on, lads. I love you.
Thank you, everyone, for locking in. I've been saying all the way along, it's been important for me to make these live and uncut.
I think it's been brilliant. People are going to get a lot out of this.
Yeah.
You can look back on it and blah, 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 blah. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
The music's like...
Listen, without the music, there's nothing else.
No.
There's no other conversation that leads on to nothing because it all started there,
Exactly.
And that's where it starts and that's where it ends.
Boom.
Bosh.
Love you to bits, and thank you for coming round.
Come on, man.
I could hear you and Sonia talking about me out in the garden.
I'm saying he loves it. You see this? He could do it. He didn't need me here today.
No,
he could have done the whole thing himself.
No. Thank you, everyone, for locking in. Please share the stream once it's up on YouTube. Next week, we got Mad P.
Oh, that's going to be a goodie.
We've got Patrick in next week.
That's going to be a good one.
Thank you. I'm going to tell you again, I love you.